You're listening to Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Ha ha ha! Yeah! All right, everybody. We are live right now from Contact in the Desert. Let's hear a round of applause. Has anybody listen? Let's go. We are live right now from Contact in the Desert. I'd like to welcome everybody listening around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, far and near, back and forth, east and west, north and south. We are live right now from Joshua Tree. It's an amazing event here. We've got an amazing show lined up tonight, totally jacked up. We got here. Tweet deck. Everything is live. I'm looking at everybody in the sandbox. I have to welcome everybody. Hundreds of thousands of listeners around the world right now. You're listening to us live from Joshua Tree. All of the Fadernauts are here. I'm looking at Rick Sinnott. Spaceboy is in front of me. Lou Sheehan is running a video camera. We've got Miss Brown shooting me from video from the back. We are live. It is just an overwhelming, humbling experience to be here with everybody. This is what we've got lined up for tonight. Check this out. We're going to have Don Schmitt on the show. Dr. Lynn Kitae will be here. Jim Mars will be in the house tonight. Jesse will be with us. Travis Walton already stopped by a couple of times today. He will be visiting with us a little bit later. John Anthony West just finished up a seminar. Richard Dolan just walked by. He will be down here in a little bit. And it is going on. And I've just got to say, it is an amazing event that they have put on here. I have no idea. Thousands of people here. James Gilliland right now is giving a seminar inside. We're set up outside. And it is great. Linda Moulton Howe just walked by. She's going to stop by a little bit later on. So that's it. It is going to be an absolutely amazing show tonight. And we've been looking forward to this. And all of the Fadernauts are here. All of the contest winners are here. Rita is here. She's pacing. She doesn't have to work tonight. She just has to sit and watch the show go down. I just got to say. All right. So what I would like to do out of the gate. Oh, I miss. You know what's funny? I miss Spaceboy's music, and I'm listening to Kovar's. It's good though. It's good. It's good. Who wants to jump up on the mic first? Who we going to pull in first? Rick, you're walking by. Rick Sinnott, everybody. Rode in on a motorcycle. Put on the headphones. You're good. You're live.
Cool. Hello.
No, you speak into the microphone.
I thought I did.
Yeah. So you rode in from where?
From Henderson, basically Las Vegas.
Henderson, Nevada. How long did it take? Into the microphone. Yeah, there you go.
About 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. What kind of bike do you have?
94 Fat Boy.
94 Fat Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick,
it's one of a few.
This is the thing. Rick is he has built he's built a gift for us. And what did you build?
Basically, it's a do-it-yourself Ovilus.
And what does it do?
What it does is it goes through a phonetic generator, an allophone, and so it generates the different things needed for speech. And so what it'll do is it'll go through, and a spirit will activate certain sounds in order to make speech through it.
And are these spirits that you can hear?
Yeah.
Or does the computer pick up things that you wouldn't normally hear, and then it phonetically speaks the digital copy that it's recorded?
No, it will do it in real time and also record it.
That's amazing.
So it'll do both.
So tonight, in the after party that we're going to have, we're going to speak to the other side?
Maybe.
Should we?
Why not?
Now, what happened?
They're lonely.
Now, with your fat boy, you're riding a couple of 100 miles to get here. Did it survive? Is it going to be okay?
Yeah. There was a little bit of a problem. Basically, what puts the video on the screen kind of cramped out a little bit. So in the lower right-hand corner, it's distorted, but it'll still work.
It's not going to interfere with the spirits.
No.
Rick Sinnott, he is one of the contest winners. I can't believe it. What did you when you first heard your name announced on the air? What did you think?
I had to play it back.
You had to play.
Yeah, I had to play it back.
You're doing good though. Is this the first time you've ever been on the radio with an audience like this big?
Yeah.
You're doing okay. Are you nervous?
No. I'm too tired to be nervous.
You look pretty smooth, brother.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty much fueled by Rockstar right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I felt kind of bad because I was slightly, you can ask Walter, I was kind of dozing off a little bit through some of the presentations. And there were really interesting presentations I wanted to hear, but I mean, just fatigue.
It's absolutely amazing who is speaking here today.
Oh,
it's just like you're just standing here and watching people walk by, and it's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's for this interest, it's it's like how we were talking about earlier, going to the DAM show, which for the folks that don't know what that is, it's the North American Music Manufacturers Convention. And you'll see anybody and everybody who plays an instrument or sings or anything.
Rock stars everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's exactly what's going on here right now. It was kind of cool. Earlier, I just wanted to say, when we were walking around, there's a circle right next to where we're broadcasting from, and everybody's sitting there. I mean, everybody's just like, there's Travis, and there's Jim Mars, and there's Don Schmitt, and there's Lynn Kitae, and you don't know who's walking by. John Anthony West is doing his presentation, and you can hear that going on in the background, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's just like so electric.
Yeah, well, like when we're coming back from the car, walking around Nick Pope, who's having a conversation with somebody, and it's like, wow, that's Nick Pope.
That's Nick Pope. Absolutely cool. Okay, that's Rick Sinnott. I want to bring up all of the contest winners. Walter Lewis won his pass. And so Walter, it's funny. Everybody's walking by and they're going, wow, what is going on? So funny. And this is the thing. They probably have listened to this show. They probably heard, my voice. They have no clue. Earlier, it was really funny. I was just out here having a conversation. Somebody walked by. Jimmy, I said, yeah, dude, I heard your voice from, there. And it's so cool. And they drove in from Phoenix, and, it's just totally cool. So, Walter, this is Walter Lewis. Walter, how you doing?
Hello?
Walter, Fadernauts. Walter, how did it hit you when you heard your name called out live?
So I wanted to go to the thing for a while, this Contact in the Desert, and I knew I couldn't afford it. So I was like, all right, I'll apply for the radio show, see what happens. I'm never going to win, but I'll apply. Tickets would be great. I'm listening to a show live, and it was during a time when I didn't catch every show.
Right.
But I heard my name announced, and I about had a heart attack. And I had to play later.
Right. I'm looking. Check this out. Tweet deck. By the way, I'm watching everything. Lauren Robb's in the house. Dave C's in the house. Ken Beck. Dale, of course, is there. But here's Lynn from Australia. She says, "Stop the name dropping. I'm getting jealous." And put the big eye out to Stanton. Oh, actually, yeah, Stanton Friedman could make it. He had his heart attack. I think Yeah, I think Richard Dolan kind of stepped in and he's filled up. He was gracious enough to go in. But it's pretty cool to just walk around and see everybody just walking by. It's such an electric thing.
It's been crazy seeing so many big names all in one place. And
Who did you see today?
John Anthony West, Michael Tellinger.
How was Michael's? Oh, he's so good.
Oh, he's got such a great sense of humor. It was awesome.
And what did he talk about?
It was a lot of his usual stuff. There was some new material in there, though. There always is. It was great.
Right, right.
And tomorrow he's talking about a totally different subject. I want to try and catch that one, too.
What's he going to talk about tomorrow?
I think it's the Ubuntu movement.
Really?
Yeah, he's doing his presentation on that tomorrow.
Did he talk about his donut rock? Do you remember when he was on the show a few weeks ago and he told us about his donut rock?
I don't think it came up in the presentation, but he had some material that was like 2 days old. It was like brand new stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, and so who else are you going to go see?
I wanted to catch David Wilcock, but I don't think I'm going to be able to catch him.
Has anybody seen David walking around?
No.
Have you seen him? You saw him? Oh, of course he does. We talked about that on the show. Absolutely. Hi, how you doing? Everything good? We'll see you when you come back. Yeah, when he was on the show, Miss Brown, when he was on the show, we talked about that and the fact that David's got to go around with security now. And yeah, I should call him right now. Should call him on his cell.
We should do it.
Yeah. Is he presenting tonight? No, he wasn't, or was he? Oh, he's on the panel tonight. Okay. Oh, that's right. That's what Linda was just talking about. So, yeah, that'd be cool if we can get David on the show tonight, too. As well. We, like I said, Don Schmitt, Dr. Lynn Kitae, Jim Mars, Jesse Marcel, Travis Walton, John Anthony West. I think at the end of the night, we'll get Richard to step down here. They could probably hear me from where they are at right now. So, and he's sweating, but totally cool. And it was funny. I almost kissed him on his forehead today. That's something that went down. Okay, so let's. I will try to. What I would like to do tonight is hear from one of the Fadernauts or two. If somebody would like to call in, and we'll test the phone line. I think we actually have everything up and running. And with that, I am going to take our first break. Where are we at? Yeah, we are at break time. So I will take our first break. I'll be back right after this. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network, bespoke radio. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Dark Matter. You're listening to Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Casanel Tiburón y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hi, I'm Lacey Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right. Oh, check it out, everybody. Guess who's calling? This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm going to do this one at a time. I haven't tested it yet tonight. So let's do the first one first. Lynn from Australia. Lynn, is that you? Lynn? Hold on for a second. Lynn Lewis. Oh, no. Got like 15 calls backed up right now, and I don't have Lynn. Lynn, are you with us? Lynn Lewis. I can barely hear you. Oh, Lynn. Oh, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. There's 5 phone calls backed up right now. I'm going to go right into a commercial, and I am going to fix this because we need to take these calls. And this is called live radio, remote. Should be working. It is not. Stay with us. I'll be back right after this.
The Dark Matter Radio Network.
And I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Jimmy Church. My name is Alan, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com. On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Hi, this is Bob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurch.com. What's up, Chris? What up, this is Tom Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio, the revolution.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. It is Spaceboy. Come on, jump on the mic. Spaceboy's with us. Drove out from Texas. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, sir.
Really?
Yes. Well,
Look at these phone calls. They're just lined up one after another, and I know everybody's listening. Listen, we will fix the audio. I don't know what the issue is, but we'll fix the audio. Coming back into the console. Oh, I wonder if that's it. Okay, we'll work on it, though. So Spaceboy drove out from Texas.
Houston,
Texas.
yes.
How long did it take you? You left Wednesday?
Actually, we left Tuesday morning at 5 a.m.
Tuesday morning.
We drove all the way until we got outside of Tucson, and we bunked for the night. And then from there, we drove all the way to Joshua Tree.
Unbelievable. And are you staying at the Best Western?
No,
the Motel 6?
The infamous Motel 6, where all faders like the journey to.
Unbelievable. You know what's funny is when you're driving out to the Motel 6, 16 miles, you drive past 45 hotels. We're staying another 2 miles past you guys, just so you know. We're staying another 2 miles out. So we rolled past you. We wish we were staying there. That's how much closer you guys are. And we had to drive around over a couple of mountains. Well, no, I don't know. So, but it was just so funny that how many motels are between here and the Motel 6. And everybody think the same thing as you're driving out to the Motel 6?
Well, what's funny is because the other night we were tweeting, and Rick had mentioned about, hey, we're going to be at that Motel 6, and I went, oh my God, I booked the same place, and then sure enough, there was a Kit, and we all kind of fell in line with each other. So
hilarious.
Yes.
And so, did everybody recognize each other? By the way, how did you know who was who? You just knew.
Well, the thing is with me, Jimmy, it's not like you don't see my face.
Yeah.
So, and like you too, so.
Well, that goes without saying. Hey, man, how you doing?
Yeah.
Everything good? It's absolutely. Who are you shooting for? Oh, okay. We're good. I'm getting my picture taken here. Should I make a face? Here, how's this? No, I'm just gonna act like okay. So anyway, so how you? All right, hey, here, grab a card. So you know who you just did. Behave and be well, and we'll see you tomorrow or later on tonight. Right here. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, this is live right now. I'm live right now. Absolutely. Here, jump on. Come here. Jump on the mic. Jump on the mic. Don't be scared.
All right. Oh, you just booted you out?
Just like that. Well, there's two mics. All you had to do was scoot over. There's a reason why there's two mics there, Spaceboy. This is absolutely nuts. This is crazy. This is cool.
Hey.
Yeah, here, put on the headphones.
Oh, headphones. Okay.
Okay, there you go. See, this is real. This is the real deal. Okay, so who are you? What's your name?
Keith Moser, Los Angeles, California.
Keith Moser.
Yes,
I play Moser guitars. Here, step on the mic, Keith.
Oh, step up a little bit. Okay.
Step on the mic.
Be friendly with the
That
mic.
is a gnarly
Hey.
camera. That's a gnarly camera that you've got.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is my moneymaker.
It's your moneymaker?
Yeah.
Okay, who are you shooting for?
Dream Alley Studio. It's a online entertainment network in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
Celebrity entertainment, fashion, all that kind of good stuff.
Really?
Mhm.
Well, you just shot somebody that they're not going to know who I am.
I already knew you were famous just by
No.
looking at you.
They're not going to know me. He's famous. That's
Oh, he's
Spaceboy
famous.
right there.
Oh, my
Are you
goodness.
Spaceboy?
Yeah,
I
he's
am the
Spaceboy.
Spaceboy. Often imitated but never duplicated.
Oh.
Everybody wants to be Spaceboy. I think even one of our he's not a Fadernauts, but he knows who he wants to be. But yeah, everybody wants to be Spaceboy.
Man, it's funny. I see Michael Bara. Michael Bara's
Michael
walking right
Bara.
toward. He doesn't even
Oh,
know.
wow. Now I know who that guy is. That's a very famous
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. We'll get Michael to come in here on the mic here in just
Yeah.
a second. Watch this.
Michael.
So, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so who have you shot today?
Oh, wow. I shot, the only person I really got that was good was Linda Moulton.
Linda Moulton.
But I'm
Howe.
going to shoot over at the amphitheater. There's a bunch of people over there today. Now,
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
now.
Yeah. So I don't want to hold you up from your
Okay.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, go take some shots
All
and
right.
then come back and shoot some more over here.
I will. I got one.
Everybody's going to be here tonight,
Oh, at what time?
all night.
All night
All
long?
night. Just
Oh,
swing
yeah?
by. Just
All
swing
right.
by.
Let's get, okay. Hey, so
I'll talk
nice
to
to
you.
meet you.
I'll talk to you.
Keith Moser.
Keith Moser, photographer.
And nice to meet you, Spaceboy.
Oh yeah.
That's a great name for
Absolutely.
a TV
Thanks.
show.
This is
Spaceboy.
live radio. It's crazy. There's so many people here.
Oh, look at my car.
And it's funny. It's kind of run amok. It's slowly running out of control. And with all the phone calls coming in and TweetDeck, and we don't have audio on the phone calls, but we have plenty of people to talk to and things to do. Now, so this morning, this is what we decided to do. We decided to leave our house an hour early. And so that means getting up. We had the show last night.
Hold on. I got to point this out. Nancy, I hope you're listening to this because this is good.
No. I can't actually say what happened. I will tell Keith later, and then Nancy will find out. Mike, you want to jump in? Mike Bara just walking by. He has no idea. He doesn't even know.
That's not true. I heard the radio and I decided that's like, a media opportunity.
So, Mike, believe it or not, you're live on Dark Matter Radio. This is Fade to Black.
Sweet.
Yes. And so, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a blast so far. I mean, this is a really cool event, and if you've never been here, you really got to come. You got to come out next year. I don't know if they're going to have it here. It's so big now that they're going to move it somewhere else.
It's
like
this.
Vegas.
Yeah, it's like the Woodstock.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like the Woodstock of ufology.
Yeah.
Everybody, like yourself, everybody that is everybody is here.
Yeah, I know.
And it's crazy. Here, you know, you're just walking by. You're just a guy walking by. So, have you done a presentation
Actually,
yet?
I was making a drug delivery. Is what I was doing, and I'm not exaggerating that.
So, have you done a presentation yet?
No, I haven't. I've got a lecture tomorrow at 1:30, which is the secret history of the solar system, kind of building up for my thing is that there's a civilization on Mars, and so the question then is, was Mars ever habitable? And so that's what it's going to be about leading up to that. And then on Sunday, I do my workshop where I show you the civilization.
You know what's funny? You should have been here about 15 minutes ago, right before showtime, before we went on the air. We got in a real heated life on Mars discussion, and everybody, turned to me. So Jimmy, what do you think? Well, this is my thing, Mike. And I've been following you for a long time, and we'll get you on the show here in the next couple of weeks.
Sweet.
This is my take. There are certain things out there that you talk about, that Richard's talked about. He's been on the show. And he's a great guy, and that's one side of the fence for me, and that's fine. But there's the other side of the fence that are some real obvious things going on Mars that don't get talked about and really piss me off. And one of them, the light that was shot by Curiosity, right, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I had a couple of guys, so it doesn't matter, that wanted to say it was cosmic rays, or it was.
Sorry, it's very dry here. I just had to clear my throat
it's
real
okay.
quick. Yeah.
Cosmic rays,
Right.
and then NASA said that it was a bad pixel in the camera. And my take is, and I've said this on the show too many times, but I own probably, I don't even know now, but I probably have in drawers lying around the house probably 15 or 20 digital cameras. Never had a bad pixel.
Right.
Right. And so we're spending money to send up a stereo digital camera to Mars that is potentially a bad. No, I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying the cosmic ray. And when I look at that looks like, to me, something is illuminating something from below the surface of Mars. And the other thing is this. So that's that side of the fence. And it's just like, it doesn't want, that is such an obvious thing. It's one thing to talk about Sidonia and other things. But in pyramids, I get that. I do. Those are things you can see and go scratch your head.
Right.
But that light, you're not scratching your head. The frigging thing is lighting up in the distance, and it's there. And the other thing for me is the famous number 9 picture, with Hoagland and Art. I'm sitting in for Art.
Yeah. Oh,
this
no.
is Art's Network.
I
Keith
know it's
Rowland.
Art's Network.
Yes.
I know
okay.
that.
All right.
And
So
Art is still under his agreement, I guess.
Yeah,
He's
he'll
not
be
here
back.
yet.
No.
All right.
Art will be back
Cool.
in July. His show's going to follow mine, and he's been gracious to do that. And he wants that 10 o'clock slot, so we're 7 to 10, and it's great. Well, anyway, back to that. Art was just as fascinated with that number 9 picture as he should have been. And that's another thing that, for all of us, when you look at it, it's just like, that ain't natural. And so if you look at some of the obvious things, the other things open to interpretation, I get that. Okay, all right. We can debate that, but there is no debating that light from the rover, and there's no debating number 9.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with you. I did a little bit on the light, and it you ever notice that there's only ever lens flares when NASA sticks the camera out of the space station window? then there's suddenly lens flares that fly by in triangular formation. Yeah, it's amazing what incredibly crappy camera equipment they have. And so as an example, people talk about some of the stuff that Hoagie talked about, and that's in my book Ancient Aliens on the Moon. Some of the glass structures that are hanging above the lunar surface, and they, as an example, they will say things like, "Oh, it's some sort of reflection or lens flare," and I'm like, "Dude, the windows were optically perfect on the Apollo space program.
Perfect.
The Hasselblad cameras and the lenses were perfect, state
the
of the art.
best film.
And the reason the film, and this is something that Richard knows about, the film is off the scale. That film does not exist anymore, and it was better than any film probably ever made, and that's because they didn't want any lens flares and all that stuff in their pictures. They wanted, because they knew this would be their photographic record of the trip. So when they start to tell you that, it's cosmic rays in the lens, or it's a drop pixel. I mean, the thing about the two bright spots is that they're both on top of a hill.
Yes.
Sort of on the transition between the hill and the sky. And they're in completely different places.
Yes.
Different places in the photograph, different places on Mars itself. So there are obviously two super highly reflective specular reflections of something that looks like metal. And anybody can just look at that. And what kills me is the amount of convolution and pretzeling that people will do to not have it be what it obviously is, and whether that's the face on Mars or whether it's the light or the number 9 picture, any of the other stuff, they will just do anything to not not believe what their eyes are seeing them. And I'm a big advocate of just look at the picture and what does it look like to you?
And let me ask you about, if you don't mind, the moon special that you did a couple of weeks ago. Aliens on the Moon.
Aliens on the Moon, The Truth Revealed.
Yeah, The Truth Revealed. Now, look, I'm a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I'm a cool guy. No, I'm a cool guy. But that show made me a little angry. I think they took their foot off the gas pedal at about 50%.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone a step further in so many different areas, and I felt wanting at the end of the program. Now, how did you feel? Did you feel like they did enough, or did you feel frustrated that they could have taken things just a step further?
Well, first of all, what I want to say is I want to thank Bob Kiviat for having me on.
No doubt,
he's an excellent producer. He knows his subject. He is.
I don't want you. I'm not.
No, I just want to say that.
Okay.
He tried to present, I think, what he thought was a balanced view. But yeah, I mean, my blood boiled a few times.
Okay,
when they completely dismissed the face on Mars,
Yes.
And let me sit down and make you. I'm like, Bob, if you're out there, let's do a show on Mars and let me help you with it, because that's one that's near and dear to my heart. And there were a few things that kind of went off a little bit on a tangent, like the Apollo 20 footage thing,
and the alien. Yes,
but again, it does not look authentic to me. It looks like some people got themselves onto the set of the Apollo 18 movie.
Yes.
And there's things like if you look at the video out the window, there's supposed to be like a Russian rover there, and I'm pretty sure that's a shot from that Apollo 18 movie. I'd have to go back and look at the whole thing on DVD.
Really?
Right. But I think that there's hints in there that's not real. But again, it's his show and he has to decide what he wants to put on there. Also, keep in mind that the networks have a huge influence on what gets on the air and what doesn't. I mean, in my other reality show on Covering Aliens, we shot so much more stuff than ever made it on the air. And unfortunately, a lot of the really funny stuff got cut out, like Maureen Ellsbury falling on her rear end. I hope you're listening, Maureen.
Daryl told me about that.
Oh, did Daryl?
Yeah.
It was pretty good. And also, there's some images of Marines. Well, I'm not going to say that. But, so there's things that get cut out by the networks. And the networks have some influence on that, too. And they're like, well, we kind of like this, but we don't want to get too deeply into the government conspiracy thing. So let's back off that. And so that also influences the content. I did like some stuff. I'd never seen the footage of the UFO that they showed at the beginning with the aliens apparently walking around. I don't know who's investigated that or what, but it was really cool.
Let's talk about that for a second, because when they bring you on, and actually next week, Rita, I'm not going to say what I really want to say today, but this is this is the biggest show, period. We have a big announcement next week about a series. Look, Rita's all mad. We got the announcement. We got the call today.
Gave her a migraine.
Yeah, we got the call today, and we were all grins all the way here. And so with that, what I'm saying is this: we have some big things that are going on, like you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you are they telling you what to say when you do your shows? No. Oh, and I do want to talk about Uncovering Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
So But like shows like Aliens on the Moon.
No.
Are you told what to,
No, I communicated with Bob. He had my book. I kind of wish the cover of my book had been on the show, Bob. But we talked, and he knew the material that I was going to talk about. He knew all the background.
Right.
He's a very, very knowledgeable guy. He had a list of questions. He asked me the questions, and I answered them. Now, they didn't use all of them. There was a lot of questions about the whole.
Is that frustrating?
Glass towers thing. And I mean, it can be, but then you think about it and you think, okay, these people are smarter than me in terms of what makes good television. I could go out and make my own TV series, and probably it would not be that great unless I was involved with some TV people that were helping me. What if I did it and it sucked? I mean, I think it's going to be great, but and I thought about it and I thought, well, the Glass Towers thing, there's a lot of technical arguments that have to go into that, and that's not really great television. And it doesn't lend itself necessarily to the sort of three-dimensional animations that they did, which I thought were very good. And also you had Alan Sturm, who I'm going to name check here, who wrote that great book ULOs, and he has this great ability to highlight things with color, which I have completely lacked that talent.
Right.
And I think his stuff deserved to be in there a lot. So in a sense, did it frustrate me? No, because I got out most of what I wanted to say. The so-called ziggurat on the moon got in there, which is cool. And I got asked a lot of questions about the stuff around Mare Crisium, which is, I think pretty much difficult to refute, because that comes from an original photographic print that was actually pilfered off the desk of a NASA administrator in 1972. So, yeah, it frustrated me, but again, you got to understand it was a good show, and it had its flaws. The way I look at it, it's a good show, it had its flaws, but it moved the conversation forward. And I've actually, since I've been here, I've had a lot of conversations with people who saw that and were really enjoyed it, and actually were kind of brought into this realm that we're all involved with simply by the fact that they saw that show. So
let's talk about uncovering aliens for a second, because the first time that I saw the show, this was my comment. Daryl is Daryl. Maureen, I expected what we got. Right. You impressed me, and I actually said on the air, I said, Michael is he's out of his normal conversation. He's now discovering things. He's dealing directly with abductions, and he's investigating UFOs and sightings. And this is not what he does. Yeah, and he's really, really good. Oh, thank you. No, and I'm being serious. And I said it on the air. I mean, everybody here has heard this. How did you feel about that? You were out of your element.
Well, first of all, thanks for blowing a little bit of sunshine up my rear end. I really appreciate that.
But you know exactly what I'm saying.
I do.
Was it fun?
Well, the thing is, people think that it's outside my comfort zone or what I'm normally used to. But the fact is, I'm not a true believer. I am a skeptic, and I approach things skeptic. Like when I see a picture of something that somebody gives me of the moon or Mars or whatever, at first I'm skeptical. Okay, what's the image number? Where can I go look this up? Where can I, can I pull it and do the same things you did with the picture?
Right.
Am I seeing it in the same way as you are? What happens? What's the pedigree of it? So I do ask all these questions, and even though I've written all these books, Ancient Aliens on the Moon and Ancient Aliens on Mars and Ancient Aliens on Mars 2, I have gone through the process of asking all those questions, and that's what a skeptic is supposed to do: is you ask questions until and unless you're satisfied and can make a conclusion. So they asked me to do that, and I was totally good with that, because in a sense, on that show on Uncovering Aliens, I was sort of they described it to me as, you're the voice of the audience. You have to ask the questions that the audience is asking themselves. Well, wait a minute, this person says they were abducted, but where's the proof? Can't we test that? So I was not uncomfortable with it at all, and I think that people get mixed up between what debunkers call themselves is skeptics. They are not skeptics. They are debunkers. They are complete non-believers, and they will do anything to make sure anybody doesn't believe anything that's presented. So there's a difference there. So I actually felt pretty comfortable with it, and I learned a lot, because the kind of cases we were doing is not the kind of thing that I've experienced before. And, there's a point at which, I'm not a big alien abduction guy, but there's a point at which you're talking to somebody or you're listening to her talk, and she's telling her story. And, I say to myself, this woman is not crazy at all. And she's saying that these things happen to her, and she remembers them. It wasn't hypnosis. So anyway.
Well, how do you deal? You're one of those cats. I say this every day on the show about somebody, because we're the 1%ers. Everything else, we're fighting the world. We're rolling that rock uphill every single day.
Right.
You've got your share of skeptics too as well, and you fight it. You fight it. How do you deal with it?
I know
it's a daily
It's
thing.
actually not a share. It's really two guys who have multiple personalities on the internet who pretend they're about a dozen guys, but there's actually only two, and they're completely nuts. And well, believe me, I'd like to put their head in a vice, and I don't like them. But it's the kind of thing where you have to fight back. I just was actually having a discussion with somebody who's thinking about getting into this field today, just about this.
Right.
And you have to fight back to a certain extent, because let's say you're up for a new show, and the network is going to go investigate you, and they're like, oh well, he said this and he said that,
right.
when in fact I never said any such thing.
Right.
But you have to have some defense out there. So there's a certain amount of energy you have to put into it. But how it works is that they put up 10 things that they claim are, you've lied about it or wrong, and you defend those 10 things, and then trust me, 30 seconds after that there'll be 10 more things.
Wouldn't it be easier
otherwise
sometimes?
They will suck you into their energy.
Right. Well, wouldn't it be easy sometimes maybe to ignore it and do nothing?
Yeah, but then the problem is it's the old thing that a lie can get around the world 3 times before the truth even gets its socks on,
Sure
whatever
does.
that expression is.
Absolutely.
And so you do have to respond to some extent.
Right.
And what I try to like when I got into it with a nameless geologist from Colorado, who has a PhD.
I still remember
a PhD in geology, and believe me, I would not debate.
Can I say this? I'll say
the Brock with him. He'd win.
But I'll say this right now. I heard some of that when it was live.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so uncomfortable. I was like, wow, and it was obvious that you had some contact, and you could feel it. And it was like, this has the potential of really getting out of control. It was uncomfortable. You handled it well, but
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, I like the thing is how I do it is I try to show that not only is what he's saying not correct, I try to show that, look, there's an agenda behind what he's saying. And in other words, expose the agenda behind it. And because the truth is, anybody who's objectively minded would not, what's the most famous one? There's one where supposedly I said that orbital eccentricity is calculated from the Earth, not from the center of the sun. And that's like, I never said anything like that. And I went through the whole series of steps you would have to go. It's like literally 10,000 words to be able to understand how anybody, that's just deliberately twisting what somebody said.
Right. And I remember all the math that was involved with that, and my head was spinning.
I don't like to do math either. In fact, I do not do math. So.
If anybody, I'm sure there's people listening right now that know exactly the phone conversation that we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was sitting there listening, and I was like, somebody's got so much time on their hands.
And the thing is too is I don't have a short fuse, but when you cross my Roche limit, let's say,
Right.
I very quickly go to DEFCON 5. I really do. So it's one of those things where I'm pretty calm, and now I'm going to cave your face in. So, in a literal way. I would never.
So what have you got going on now?
Well, right now I just got the new book out, Ancient Aliens on Mars 2, which is one of the things I'm going to be talking about here. I am going to be shooting for another TV show on History Channel. I don't know if I can say it, Hangar 1, on Tuesday. And there's a couple of other things brewing. And meantime, Uncovering Aliens is still floating out there. And, anybody who saw it, who liked it, let Animal Planet or the Science Channel know. Actually, our ratings were the best on the Science Channel. Let them know you liked it, and let them know you want more.
Hey, Jimmy, can I just? Yeah. I did download that off of Amazon.com.
Okay.
And enjoyed it immensely.
Good. I thought it was a pretty good show compared to the other shows.
And I was like, okay, one season, but
4 episodes really. And it you know what? TV execs they don't make decisions rationally. It's like they made a big deal out of the viewing on Monster Week, which was just a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. That was a big deal, and it's like ratings weren't quite what they wanted on Animal Planet. But the first time you started on Animal Planet with no promotion whatsoever, the night before New Year's Eve, it beat its ratings for the time slot by 50%. Like, why is this viewing, after it's been shown 33 times on 5 different networks, why is that one more important than the first one? So I don't understand how TV works.
I watched all 4 episodes, had Daryl on the show.
Yeah.
And then right after that, Daryl spoke out in L.A. and I went and introduced him at UPARS.
Okay.
And I really, really thought it was going to have legs. I thought it was different. I did. I thought it was different, and I thought it was objective, and there were a couple of really spooky things, Daryl and his flip chart, his flip charts.
Yeah, that was a genuine moment. I mean, it was really interesting because to go back and actually watch the footage, which I hate to do because, by the way, I want everybody to know that I had a sinus infection that made me look fat during all the shooting we were doing. It wasn't beer or anything else. But Stephen had a genuine moment there, and he's all Mr. Positive. He freaked, and it was weird because they cut to a shot of me, and I had no idea but you could see the worry on my face because I really wasn't sure what was going to happen because Stephen, was really locked into it's all positive stuff, and that really
was the thing
him.
about the show was because they kept the cameras rolling. That was the first thing. They didn't stop. And it had that genuine guerrilla journalism type thing where the cameras were rolling You were catching genuine moments, and it didn't seem scripted, didn't seem acted.
It wasn't. Yeah,
well, I know that it wasn't, but I'm saying it didn't even have that feel at all. And I thought it was great. It was my kind of show. I was shocked when I heard that it was going to stop at 4 episodes.
Well, it may not. It may not. It's not 100% dead yet. And if people, want more, there could be more. But it we'll see. It was a very marginal call one way or the other, and we're really not.
It was a good team too. It was a good team.
I agree with you.
The team was strong.
I agree with you. It was good. It was kind of funny because Maureen and I were a little bit flip-flopped in who we really are. They kind of wanted Maureen to be a little more neutral, both sides. They wanted me to be the skeptic, but part of that was just I had an aerospace background, so they felt that would be valuable.
Mm-hmm. How was it like working with her, by the way?
Oh, it's great. She's a great person. She's really fun to drink with. I will tell you that. She's a blast. And if you're listening, Maureen, and I got pictures of her butt crack. It was fun. Sorry, I'm a little red right here. Yeah, but I'm not putting them on the internet. I'm not. No, there was this time we were in South Carolina, and we shot a sequence that didn't make it in where we cut a tree down. Yeah, I killed him with that one. God, I hope she's not listening. She will never speak to me again.
I just did an email exchange with her yesterday.
Oh my God! Yeah, don't tell her I said that on the air. Okay. Hopefully she missed it. Everybody in the world is going to tell her Mike was talking about it. But she's really great, and I really got along with her well. And there were so many funny things that happened, and unfortunately they didn't really let any of the humor make the final cut. But there was one time, and I got to tell this story because it's not on. It wasn't.
Go fly a mission.
We were in South Carolina. We were near the lagoon, and we cut down a tree with permission. We cut a tree down to test the tree ring growth because there's some apparently abnormalities if they're exposed to radiation, and that was one thing. And she was doing that. And to get to where they were shooting at, you had to jump over this trench that was about 6 or 8 feet wide. And she chose to jump back over the trench, and she jumped over, and she got attacked by a sapling. I mean, it came up and whacked her in the face like 5 or 6 times. And oh my God, if I could have got that on film, folks, it would have been absolutely classic.
Keep telling a story. I'm going to look something up really quick.
Okay. Well, and there were lots of fun things that happened on the show. I just will say I want to say about my co-stars that I think Stephen Jones is one of the sweetest, nicest guys I've ever met. Maureen's got a lot of integrity, very, very smart person, and really a lot of fun to hang around with. And Daryl is so serious, and we would tease him about how his jacket, he stole it from Erwin Rommel, his big black leather jacket, and it was really a fun experience, and hopefully there'll be more of that. And if not, there's other possibilities out there.
What did you think the first time you saw these pictures?
Oh, the one. The thing is with Google Earth, there can be artifacts. There can be digital artifacts, right? But those don't look like digital artifacts. That's a really weird thing about we're talking about the base underneath Malibu.
This is the team that discovered this.
Yeah, and I look at it, and I mean, it's
sitting around you right now.
Yeah, it looks like,
and we're all big guys, so be careful.
It looks like a manufactured platform with
it
pillars,
does.
And it is not. That is not digital artifacting. That is not what it looks like. Now, there's a thing of Hale Crater or Gale Crater where some people have found some stuff in a 3D projection.
Yes.
That when you invert it and stuff, that it looks really weird. Some of that could be, but that is nothing. That does not look anything like this. So
when we did the discovery on this, by the way, I'm showing Michael pictures of the Malibu deep underwater base. Mm-hmm. This picture here. And so everybody listening around the world right now, and just go to jimmychurchradio.com, scroll down. It's the main article on the Malibu base. But picture number 2, that's the first one that was sent to me. And you can clearly see, that's PCH right here.
Right, and
that's not right.
And there's a natural seafloor all around it, and then you have this slab of concrete or something that is enormously thick.
This is 2 miles. That's a mile. These are 600 feet tall. Yeah. That's 500. That is insane.
It's massive. It's absolutely massive. It's architecture on a massive scale. But you do hear the rumors that there are sub bases in Southern California. Some people like to say it's in Catalina Island. That's I think Sean David Morton's favorite place to put it. And where you go, the subs go into these things, and they can go all the way through to New Mexico, where they come up in their secret sub base.
That's right.
We know that this stuff has been going on since the 50s. We know they could use these nuclear subterranes to cut these huge channels and so forth. So I mean,
check this out, Mike, if you had, this is the truth, if you had these pictures on the moon or you had these pictures on Mars, it'd be game over.
I'm going with artificial immediately. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm
it's
saying
game over.
There's no way
it's game over. It's game over.
Right.
But that is sitting off the coast of Malibu.
Yeah.
And we can go check that out. We don't have to fly to Mars. We don't have to fly to the moon. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
It's right there.
I do.
And yeah, we're pretty excited about it. And the thing is, with all of the images that we have published, Huffington Post, if you remember, I think they posted this picture.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they did.
They might have did this one in the article. But all of these images that we have published, these are unaltered.
Yeah, I know.
Everything.
Yep.
Not lightened, not darkened, not focused, nothing. And that was so important for us with what you do, because this is exactly what you do, just on another body.
On a different place. Different place.
Different planet. But that's exactly what we do. Can you believe it?
Hey, that's his phone, not mine.
Yeah, the number one rule in broadcasting.
That's Maureen calling to have you rip my head off.
Actually, it might have been. Is this?
Well, just so you know, Maureen and I have a relationship. I love her and she hates me. So that's
okay. All right.
Just kidding.
Oh wow! She probably is listening. And Alejandro's walking around here somewhere
oh,
too.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So. There she is, right there. Look, no, right there it is. Is this? We made sure that I didn't want to have anybody come back and say, "Hey, look who's coming up." Steve Murillo, Alex Mistrada.
Oh my God!
Coming in the house.
I got it.
How you doing, guys? How you doing? The last time I talked to you, you were stuck in traffic 4 hours ago.
Do I have to leave my chair now?
No. No, these guys are on the show every night. So, actually, in 2 weeks? Check this out. I don't know. Where do you live?
Well, right now I'm living in the Seattle area.
Oh, you're in Seattle.
And I consider myself, even though I was born and raised in Seattle, I consider myself an LA native at this point.
Okay.
It's just a question of there's some things that happen for me to get back there.
Well, in 2 weeks.
But I'm not diving that. So.
No. In 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a live remote broadcast for Steve and Alex in Studio City. If you're going to be around, stop on by. We'll be doing the same thing in front of a studio audience.
Well, in 2 weeks, I'll be up there screaming at the TV if the Seahawks get another holding penalty. So
can you believe preseason's here?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So back to this, and the reason why it's something that you fight all the time. Somebody is bringing artifacts, we're going to bring up imaging. Lighting, darkening, sharpening, all of the pixelization stuff. Everything that we presented as clean as possible, because we didn't want, when I say as clean as possible, we didn't have anybody say anything anywhere that these images were altered or messed with. But when you look at something like this, I'm just pulling up something random.
This is great radio, folks. He's going to pull me up a picture and show it to me, and you can't see it.
Yeah. That's just wrong.
But we will.
This is image number 2.
This is like Art and Richard. This is the old days with Art and Richard, right?
Well, the thing is, sitting in for Art Bell. Listen, and I'm going to be, and I've said this a few times on the show. I need to be very conscious of who the audience is.
Yeah.
And I came in as a sportscaster, and I came in and went from the sports world to this. We planned it for a while. Joe Rogan did it.
Right,
I can do it. Right. And so we had planned it, and then Art left the air. And I was like, oh, you know what? Okay. All right. I think there's an opportunity here. And the audience, I think they picked up what I was putting down from the word go.
Yeah.
And we were able to, now today, the show's success and everything, it's so humbling. I knew that the things about art that I love, but then we're in 2015, and I'm a crazy guy.
14.
Yeah, 14. And I'm a crazy.
And a time Misty.
And I wanted to have the audience. I wanted to bring in and recognize a whole new generation of ufologists. These a lot of the people that are sitting in front of us right now, these are winners and tickets. And listeners to the show, and as you can see, these well, except for Miss Brown, and she's great, I love her, but these are young faces of ufology.
Right.
That's Spaceboy right there.
Yeah.
And so it's a growing thing. We still have all of the we address the older subjects. We do have to, but it's exciting to see the faces that need to. Very important, like you.
Right.
You're not Stanton Friedman.
No, I'm not.
You know what I mean? You're not Keel. You're not.
And get well, Stan.
Right. Exactly. And what I mean is, we need guys like you.
Right.
To bring in a new generation.
We were just talking. I was just actually talking about this earlier today. That you had first generation in a sense, which was the X-Files Art Bell generation.
Sure.
Right. And then there was a gap of almost 10 years. Where there was kind of nothing happening, and there was just that same audience that kept getting older. And then with the advent of new TV shows like Ancient Aliens, which started to turn, and all the investigation and the ghost hunting stuff, and now there's so many people interested in paranormal and the unusual that now you've got a whole bunch of young people coming in, and that's actually why I'm writing books that I've been writing, is because I wanted to write them for the younger audience, to tell them not only the history of this stuff, but also show them the new stuff and show them that there's a whole world out there that's completely different than they might have been taught in school.
Absolutely.
So it's really wonderful to see that. And again, guys like Giorgio and Jason and a lot of us who've been lucky enough to be on Ancient Aliens, it's really gratifying to see all
you guys on your 20th season. That's
7. I think it's season 7.
Insane.
Yeah. So
when it finally leaves, it'll be like MASH. It'll be, it's going to be crazy. It influenced a whole generation.
We'll go to Nazca one more time. Yeah.
Thank you for coming out with us.
Thank you.
And we'll take some pictures in a second. I'm going to run the cue music, but I want to get you on in a couple of weeks if
Sounds
that's
great.
okay. And that's it, Michael Bara, everybody. Let's hear it for Michael Bara.
Golf clap, everyone. Clap.
That's not a golf clap. All right. So we're going to take a break. This is Fade to Black. Fade to Black. Fade to Black only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. This is Bespoke Radio for Masses. We are live from Contact in the Desert. Michael Bara, everybody. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We will be back right after this. Stay with us.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy. That was awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's take a quick. Byron, you ready? Where you at? Oh, Lynn. We got to take pictures. We got. Come on in.
Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Yeah, right.
Despite popular opinion,
Are we good?
reading it will not make
That's great.
My grab a card, and right there is our EP.
Okay.
And let's do it in about 2 weeks. Byron, sit. All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. Only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Byron Belitsos, how are you, sir? Oh, hold on. There we go. There we go. And we have Dr. Lynn Kitae. I'm so excited, Lynn.
Oh, me too. Great to see you.
It's been a week or two, a week and a half since you were on the show.
Yeah.
And
Which was a wonderful show.
No, I got to tell you, so much feedback on the show, and it was great. It was one of those things where you and I. That was 2.5 hours of rapid fire information, crazy, and Byron, check this out. We had Andrew Collins on this week, and we did a full 2.5 hours on Göbekli Tepe, and I think it's one of the most important. I guarantee you, I can switch over to Twitter right now, and we, all of the Twitter, our Fadernauts are on TweetDeck. I say Göbekli Tepe on my show every single day. And Göbekli Tepe is a game changer on planet Earth. And so we'll talk about that in a second.
Excellent.
Did you do your thing today?
I did my thing. It was wonderful. It really was. This is Contact in the Desert.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I really got into the Phoenix Lights. Okay. Not only the data, the hard data, which is very impressive. And of course, we are now the most documented, most witnessed, and most important mass sighting in modern times, if not ever. But there's so much more. It's how it affected people at a very deep soul level.
Right.
The audience just loved it. It was really cool.
What in the last we've done this is our 5th live show this week, believe it or not. And last week it seemed like every guest that we had on, Noria Hayakawa, I can go on, every guest, everybody brought up the Phoenix Lights. Ooh. And when it's other researchers that when they want to present the thing, because that's what we have to do. Look, let's be straight. It's always about evidence. That's it. What is the evidence? Let's start there, and then we can talk, because that is all you have. Those are the bullets in your gun. And so for researchers, when they talk about evidence and they say, okay, well, there's this, and there's the Phoenix Lights, and it's right there with everybody. And how does that make you feel? I mean, you've been waving this flag for a long time.
A long time. It took 7 years before I came forward with the hard evidence, 35 millimeter that no one has.
Right.
Which is, I'm really grateful for the response from people, because they really do appreciate the hard data. Absolutely. But again, it's also important that we have the other part of this, which is how it affected people in real time and long term. And there's so many people, millions of people worldwide. Yes, most things can be explained, but a very small percentage cannot. And just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define what these things are, it doesn't mean they're not real.
Right.
So, it's time we get this out in the open, and I'm so grateful that people actually look at the data. That was one of the reasons I came forward.
Right.
After 7 years of anonymity, to say, hey, this is too important. There's misinformation, disinformation out there. Let me tell the rest of the story, and then you can decide. But like you said, there's so much hard data, and 10,000 people saw it. I mean, you cannot deny that they had a 1 to 2 mile wide, either actual craft, and there were 8 or 9 different craft that people get on the Phoenix Lights Network website. They can take a look at the GAP page, which is a 12-year compilation from the UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington, and Arizona MUFON, and Councilwoman Vice Mayor Frances Barwood, and Village Labs, thousands of reports. There were 8 or 9 different craft that people saw, which is amazing, whether it was one craft that could morph, we've talked about that, or it was a perspective from where the person was standing, or a parade, which is really what the investigators finally concluded, because there were so many things happening for so many hours simultaneously. But again, how it affected people in real time was awesome. I mean, there was in 17 years.
How is it for you when you're at an event like this? And this is an event. I mean, it's just, I don't know of something else that is this cool. As you're walking around here, how many people are coming up to you and just, thank you, and they know the evidence and you presented it? Isn't that great?
I have to say I am so blessed, okay, not only because of the response from people that actually look at the data, and that's why I came forward, but also to let people know that it's okay to talk about it. It's important. It's healing to talk about it. And I have had more people come up to me and tell me how the book has transformed their life, because they've had an experience that they couldn't quite put together. They just didn't know how to deal with it, or they were afraid to share it with somebody because of the ridicule and the criticism. The book and the documentary have really, and I'm so grateful, have really helped people to grow and to learn.
Where are the pictures? Are they locked up?
No, they're on the website. They're on the
No. The 35 millimeter, the real ones.
No, they're there.
No. Do you have them in a safety deposit box somewhere? Yeah, the real. Where are the real ones? That's what I want to know. If I come over to your house and have some coffee, Do you have a safe? Do you go?
I will
Would
never
you? Would
tell.
You wouldn't do that
I
for
have
me?
I have to tell you one thing, that shortly after I came forward, we did have a robbery in our medical office, and there were drawers, and they went into the file cabinets.
Right.
There was also money and narcotics there, safely put away. They didn't touch those, so they were looking for something.
Wow.
Whoever
Really?
was there. Yeah.
You know what, Ann? Check this out. Do you know Ann Druffel has the original Rex Heflin photographs, the Polaroids? She has the 4. And so she's on my show. She lives by me, right? And she goes, and in her little Ann Druffel voice, right? So, Jimmy, if you want to come over to my house, we can have some tea, and I'll take out the box, and I'll let you touch the pictures. I was like, no, seriously. And she's like, come over, Jimmy. We'll look at the Rex Heflin pictures. How cool is that?
That is very cool. But I'll tell you, they're not in my house. That's
Okay,
number
all
one.
right. Hey, Lynn, thank you for coming on with it. You want to hang out while I talk to Byron a little bit?
Absolutely, and I just hope your listener just take a peek at the website, thephoenixlights.net. It is packed with information and
absolutely.
pictures and all kinds of good stuff. And if you want to contact me and tell me your own story, I love to hear it. And
we
thank
still
you so
have
much
all
for
of your
having me.
contact information on the website. Everybody knows where to go, and you can go click on it and head right over to Phoenix Light. It's phoenixlights.net.
Thephoenixlights.net. And keep looking up.
That is one of the most insane websites, by the way. There's so much there. Byron, Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, let's dive in.
It's my favorite subject, man.
One of my favorite too.
Is it the monolith from 2001? Is it that insane? Is it the game changer? Is it the one thing that everybody on this planet needs to be talking about?
The chief of archaeology at Stanford said, this upsets all the apple carts. We know now that we are wrong about this era, at least in that part of the world, that they were not just hunter-gatherers. They had a very advanced civilization.
Yes.
And that's no one had ever come up with anything close to that.
Right.
Previous to that. I mean, they got the Egyptian pyramids nearby, which really throws you off, particularly when you
which are brand new compared to
this or Stonehenge even.
Yeah, exactly. I got an email the other day. Now, I've got my own theories on Göbekli. We all do. We don't know, and we will find out. Maybe we won't. That could be just as cool. But I got an email from somebody the other day, and he said this. He said, what if Göbekli Tepe was just a museum, a time capsule, an example of what was going on at that time? Not religious. We're putting too much stuff into it. What if they were just trying to show a museum, a time capsule, a calendar of what actually was just going on with the animals, with the human race at the time, and where they were in advancement of intelligence? What if that's all it was, and it was just there to show us later, hey, this is what's going on 12,000 BC. It's kind of a crazy thought.
It's a fun idea. It's like a prehistoric time capsule.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know. I mean, most of it is not excavated. I mean, they've got 20 years of excavation to do. They're like 5% into it.
Right.
So the more surprises are coming because it's getting more sophisticated as you go deeper down.
Right.
That's unprecedented, really.
Right. And when we had Andrew on the other day, Andrew Collins, I said, why aren't we America? Why aren't we throwing buckets of money at Göbekli? Why aren't we moving forward as fast as possible? It seems like, and I understand, it's a slow process and everything, but there's so much to be discovered there. We don't know. Why doesn't the world look at it like they should? We're always excited about Giza. We're always excited about the Sphinx. Well, we're always looking for Atlantis. There's all these things, But here we have Göbekli Tepe right there. Why isn't Obama talking about it? You know what I mean?
The academics, can't process this. And they just as Anthony West was saying today at his workshop, they suppress these discoveries by taking them over. And so the interpretation of this needs to be done by us. And that's what we're doing tonight. That's what we're doing right now.
Right.
And I have some original ideas about it that I'm presenting here about it and what I think it is.
And when is your presentation?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. What time?
7:45 a.m.
7:45.
Just bring your coffee and come join us. I don't know why they plugged me in that early.
Is it going to be just Göbekli Tepe, or what else are you going to talk about?
I'm talking about something that's rarely been talked about at a conference like this. It's about the Urantia book and what it says about deep history. But in particular, 2 expeditions to the site of where they say what I would call Atlanta, or what we call Atlantis, but they call it Eden, the Garden of Eden. It's off the coast of Cyprus, 1 mile down. We have 2 expeditions, one that our group funded, another one the History Channel funded, and that was 10 years back. And we're trying to revive that because I published the original book about that. I didn't write it, but I edited and published it. But also want to talk about the really pre-history that goes back 200,000 years, which matches what Sitchin talks about in his work.
Sure.
But it's a really different storyline, but the same timeline as Sitchin's work. And that has to do with what we call the Anunnaki, but what the Urantia book calls the staff of planetary prince. It's a whole new term for most people. But if you try to plow through the Urantia book, you can get this in a very coherent story. It's about a 300-400 page narration of deep history. So that's what I'm presenting.
It's exciting, and I it's one of the things that I mentioned so much on the show, which is it's so obvious, but to have Orthodox archaeology step in between at every turn, which is this: they want us to believe what has been written in the history books, and a lot of it came out of the late 1800s, 19th century, and that research that was done, and that was the time that was stamped on Giza, and that was in Mesopotamia and so forth. Now, but there is a gap between Giza and Göbekli Tepe, and farming was supposed to start in 3000, 5000 BC, right? The wheel, everything else, what toothbrushes, throw in whatever you want, but that's where intelligence supposedly started. And now we have evidence of not only farming, but hierarchy, government, leadership, religion, organization, cities, all done and organized, and that belt buckle. I talk about the belt buckle all the time at Göbekli Tepe. We were supposed to be wearing animal skins in 5000 BC, not designer clothes.
This is at least 10,000 BC.
10,000 BC.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute. Now everything that you have presented to us for so many years, hundreds of years, now is apparently wrong. So we have libraries around the world that have to be rewritten. When are you going to back off and go, okay, all right, you fringe guys are probably right. There is a lost civilization, and there's one in Turkey. And if there's one in Turkey, there's one somewhere else. And there's a lot that we haven't. Göbekli Tepe's 1995. We weren't supposed to find it. It wasn't supposed to exist, and now it does. And I think it's so important.
We believe, it's pretty much a proven fact, I guess, that it was filled in by a later culture. They didn't want the world to know about it. Perhaps they were suppressing it, or maybe they thought they were a superstition about who were these people and who putting out this stuff that's way over our head. We don't understand them.
Right.
Because they actually, the culture degenerated after that era, down to the time that we think is the advanced period, the Sumerians, which there's this huge gap. So I think that Göbekli Tepe is from a very ancient time.
Yep.
That then degraded for a variety of reasons. Could be environmental, it could be genetic, could be military conquest. And then later they said, listen, we don't know what this is, let's just cover it up. So we're now in charge. I don't know who they were.
Right.
We have our own religion.
Right.
And they don't, and we don't know what that religion was.
And this is the thing that is so important. You didn't just wake up one day at 10,000 BC and know how to carve those pillars. Oh. That intelligence started way before that.
Yeah.
And that it is just, it's one of the most intriguing things, and it's right in front of us. So it's exciting, and researchers like yourself, again, rolling that rock uphill, man, but you guys are armed and dangerous now. You guys have a bullet in your gun. We
keep rolling it up the hill and keeping it up the hill, and not be Sisyphus having to do it again and do it again until they get it. There's two parts of what I'm presenting, which is that Göbekli Tepe is one of the pieces of evidence of something that existed from 37,000 years back on this island, or this part of this isthmus that connects Syria to Cyprus, that sunk, where we found artifacts, which the Ranch book says was a culture that then had to remove itself and go between the Tigris and Euphrates 35,000 years ago. And that's the source culture for Göbekli Tepe and the Egyptians and all over the world.
You know what? You know what's really scaring the crap out of me right now? Excuse my French. Is what's going on in Syria and Iraq, and Göbekli Tepe is right there on that
it's
border.
no accident.
Yeah, and what if and these Maurans would do something really stupid? They're already blowing up temples and things right now and tombs.
Yeah.
And Göbekli Tepe's right there, and it wouldn't take anything to really mess up a really good thing. So I'm a little nervous. I'm hoping things will chill out. I'm a very I'm a kumbaya kind of guy. I always think things always have a way of working out. But it goes right on that border, and it would just get nutty if something went out of control. And there's so much there now that is, getting trampled underfoot. And it's really. I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
So let's take a quick break. This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, bespoke radio for the masses. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow us on Twitter @JChurchRadio. We are live right now at Contact in the Desert. Let's hear it, everybody. All right. Take a quick break. I'll be back right after this. Thanks. Lynn Kitae in the house.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will. On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Welcome back. All right, where's Murillo? Where's Alex Mistretta? Where's Murillo and Alex Mistretta? They'll be back? Dr. Lynn Kitae. Wow, that was really cool. All right, let's see. I'm looking around. We have so many people in front of us. What? Spaceboy again? Oh, I never finished with Spaceboy? Bring Spaceboy back on. And at some point, I'm going to get the bashful Lou Sheehan. Are you going to hang? Okay. Yes. I'll take care of it. Thank you, Greg. Greg, our IT guy. All right. Spaceboy, let's bring you back on. Are you there?
Yeah, I just fell through a wormhole in time, and now I seem to be back.
Yeah, that's great, huh? You just don't know.
Nope.
It was kind of funny. I just want to let everybody know, Michael Bara is walking by and just jumped in, Spaceboy down on the mic. But that was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like him. He's so down to earth, and that's why I think I gravitate to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's really cool. How do you write your music? I mean, how do you come up when I sent you when you first heard our intro music, I should say, what did you hear there that you could take it to the next level? Because you did.
Well, it kind of really started from show one, but then led into the more recent one. And I just heard little bits and pieces, and I had to really. What happened was I took several of your YouTube shows and kind of pieced together kind of an idea of the whole song. And I thought, you know what? Let me try to inject some space energy into this song. And you got kind of like the first copy of the song, kind of a radio edit where I put some samples in with you joking around and laughing on the thing. And by the way, I always love your laugh. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't laugh because it's great. But yeah, so I put the samples in. You loved it. I was like, wow, you know.
Right,
actually,
right.
you told me, hey, check out the show next Wednesday. And I said, okay, well, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Where can everybody find your music?
I am located.
I mean, I put it out there.
Yeah.
But I'm giving you the shot right now.
I appreciate it, Jimmy. You know that's why I love you, man. You can find me on spaceboymusic.co.uk. That's spaceboymusic.co.uk. And while I'm at it too, I'm on Spotify. I'm on Pandora. I mean, I'm on a lot of the major things where you can find me, and you can get my music on Amazon. You can buy it on iTunes. It's all out there.
And you, when you first started playing your music, and I was talking about Spaceboy on the air, did you see an increase in web traffic and people noticing you and stuff?
Well, the thing is, I have a thing where I can track where my followers are coming to my site.
Right.
And so initially it was kind of slow because, you know, I'd get some from Vegas, which I imagine was Dell, and but other things. But as the time has grown, especially more recently, I'm getting them all over the place. You know, followers coming from Australia, from Spain, from Europe in general. And it's just been a righteous ride. And, you know, I have to admit, I owe this in part to you because of putting the name out there and then just, you know, by a fluke, like I said, just wanting to do something cool for something that I enjoy.
Well, the first time I heard the music, this is the thing. You know, I'm a musician.
Right.
I talk about it every day on the show. And the first time that I heard it, I was like, you know, it needs to be heard. It's good stuff. I mean, you're extremely talented. It is so hard with today's media coming at you from every single direction. A lot of people that couldn't put out their music before now do.
Right.
It's easier now to get your music out there. It's harder to be heard. It's like this weird paradox that has happened. Back in the 80s, you know, trying to get a record deal, or the 70s, that was the hardest thing ever.
Right.
You had to go face a record executive, you know, and it's the same thing with publishing books, ufology. You know, it's easy to get a book published now, but now there's a lot of things that are out there, and it's harder to get read because now there's so much material.
Right.
It's the same thing in the music industry. You got to watch what you wish for. You know, you have the freedom of being able to write, publish, record at home and Pro Tools and get a microphone and you can sample away and get all of your music done all the time. It's really, really, really easy, but it's harder to get heard.
Right. And I totally agree with you. And, you know, what's been wonderful about technology in general is that before, you know, you had these reel-to-reel tapes and you'd be cutting and pasting, literally cutting and pasting stuff together. But I'm working with technology like Propeller Head Reason software that allows me to lay down tracks and experiment on the fly. You know, I could be listening to something in a loop fashion, and, you know, it's one thing that it reminds me of one day I was recording one of my songs called Technosexual, and there's a line that just keeps repeating in that, and I about drove my wife crazy from just repeating over and over, but it was the only way I could get the track to sound right, just to kind of repeat. But the technology out there is wonderful that you can just do just about anything. But you're right.
You still have to be good.
You still have to be good.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag that I'm good, but I like the fact you do see something in me. And Lord knows I have submitted music to different things and been turned down. But, you know, when I hate to go all Texan with the way I speak, but when life gives you lemons, you just make lemonade. You know, just move on. You
right.
know, sure, I admit I'm a little bitter, like a lemon, but I like to use that raw energy, and it shows into other stuff because I channel that into other music that I make and produce.
Exactly, and it's so funny with the ability to, with YouTube, do a TV show, do a movie, do a short, do something, do comedy. With you can present your music there. Facebook, you've got free distribution. Then you have iTunes. You don't have to be sold in the music store. You can go but it still has to be good.
Right.
It doesn't mean that people are going to buy bad stuff. You still have to have talent. You still have to be able to write a script. And, Steven Spielberg today, in today's world, would do just fine.
Right.
But just because you have a video camera, or just because you have sampling software, or just because you have Pro Tools, does not make you a Steven Spielberg or a Dr. Dre or a David Bowie.
Right.
It just doesn't. Or a microphone like this and broadcasting around the world right now like we are, you still have to know what you're doing.
Right.
You just can't jump on a microphone and go, oh, you know what, church sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, I'm gonna go do my own show. I encourage it. If you want to go do a show, go do a show.
Right.
But you still have to be able to deliver what people want and expect, and it's got to be good.
Well, the thing is, I've been at it for over 30 years, writing and doing my own music. Started playing violin at the age of 5 and got my first guitar at about 10. It wasn't until the 80s that I got hooked up with a keyboard, and I just fell in love with it. Many bands during that 80s time I loved, not necessarily the synth pop, but the guitar gods are out there too during that time period. I really love. My music is really a hodgepodge of a hybrid of just different things that I put together.
Right.
And it pays tribute to all those that are out there, and it's something that it just comes from here. I love it.
I got to thank you for coming on the show and all the stuff that you've done for us. I really appreciate it driving out here. We've got a long evening in front of us. I have no idea what else is planned, man. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Spaceboy.
Appreciate it, man.
All the best. Let's take a Spaceboy in the house.
Love you all, man.
All right. With that, I'm going to take a quick break. And what I want to do next is let me scroll back. What I want to do next? Are you ready? I want to bring on Lou Sheehan right after the break. This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. We are live from Contact in the Desert in Joshua Tree. Shoot us an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow us on Twitter @jchurchradio. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Dark Matter.
Dark Matter, Dark Matter, Dark Matter.
You're listening to Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Guys.
Yo soy Mario Casanel, tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio.
Skip that.
Claro que
Because he
sí.
starts saying, thanks all the men and women in
Oi,
uniform.
I'm Reese Evans.
Skip
You're
that,
listening
right?
to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution
fine, 'cause I'm
will
gonna-
not be televised. The revolution is on radio.
Oh, I'm
Ciao.
Let's go. Lauren Gentry. Sit right here, Lauren. Come on. We're coming in off break. Right here. Put on the headphones. That's right. We left the mics on again. Everybody heard that. You gotta love live radio. This is Fade to Black. Broadcasting around the world right now, live, the real live, from Contact in the Desert. Thousands of people here. Still, it's packed. This is like, the front of Gazzari's in 1984 on the Sunset Strip. But yeah, well, hold on. Okay. We were talking during the break, and I left the microphone open. Lou Sheehan is joining us. Say hi, Lou.
Hello.
And Nancy Burns are probably tweeting right now, by the way. So anyway, what's that? You're pointing. Oh, it's Don Schmitt. Look at Don, the finest looking man in ufology. Look at Schmitt. Okay. We're gonna have Don Schmitt up next. Listen, during the break, Leslie, you were surfing Point Doom since when?
I've been surfing there since I was 12 years old.
And now
And I still am surfing there.
You're a fan of the show. You know about the discovery out with the Malibu base. Don, I don't know if you know about the Malibu base. Have you checked that out? Okay. See, Don lives in a. He doesn't know. I'm gonna whip out the pictures. Yeah, you
Fantastic.
know. Well, see, what's funny is I love to get the reactions from real researchers like Don when they first look at the pictures and go, so he doesn't know. So it's going to be really cool. So when you're out there, is there something mystical going on between Doom and Magoo and the peaks and what's going on? I mean, what do you feel? Because I feel when I flew out there last week and flew over the site, I could tell there was something going on.
It's like a heart center.
Yes, it is. Totally.
It's you get so attracted to it and attached to the area.
Yeah.
I mean, the waves are the most beautiful waves that you could ever surf on.
Right.
And there's such an assortment, and you can pick and choose where you want to go. And looking out into the ocean for the hours and hours and hours that I have spent on that ocean is just exquisite. I've never ever seen a UFO.
Right.
And I've spent more time there than anyone I know personally, other than the other surfers that I've been surfing with for most of my life.
How do you explain that with all of the UFO activity? You've heard all the stories, you've seen all the pictures. With all of California, the one hot spot is between Catalina, Magoo, with Doom in between, in the water, out of the water, in the sky, videos, eyewitness testimony, light shows all the time. And you're saying, out of all these years, you've never seen anything strange out there.
Well,
it's okay, but I mean, you're the only one.
we did see little green men on a ranch in Malibu.
See?
Yeah.
Close to Topanga?
No. We lived up Corral Canyon.
Okay.
And that's called Solstice Canyon because that's where the Indians did their solstice celebrations. And there's petroglyphs up there.
Yep.
And that place is truly magical.
Absolutely.
And that place is like the main part of the Heart Center. I lived in Topanga for over 20 years. I did see UFOs up there.
But never between Magoo and Point Doom, where the
No, even when we
bases.
were like watching, the sky, we never saw them. The only thing that I've been thinking of, though, is that if a spacecraft does take off from that area, it's very likely it could possibly go south.
Yeah, it can go anywhere. That's right. Absolutely.
Especially wanting to not go toward Point Magoo because that's not exact friendly.
No.
And that would explain why all kids that I know that have grown up in Topanga have seen spacecraft coming straight out of the water.
That's right.
So it makes sense that they'd kind of like travel and then go up south.
See, there's Magoo, there's Doom. This is you surfing.
Right.
Right over the top. That's nuts, isn't it? Thank you, Leslie, for coming on and talking with us
It's
tonight.
Lauren.
Lauren, I'm sorry.
And what's interesting, though, I must say, is that when the surf gets 12 feet, it actually breaks off of this.
That's what I'm talking about.
It breaks right off of it. It's the most beautiful break you've ever seen in your life. All the surf just shifts around and heads south, and just builds right up, and then just crescendos down into a.
You were
12-foot
surfing
wave.
breaks from the aliens. Thank you, Lauren. All the best.
Thanks.
All right. Lou, you want to sit in? I'm going to have you sit in with Don Schmitt. Let's take a quick break, and you're gonna run co-pilot with Don Schmitt. How's that sound?
I have a few questions for you then, Jimmy.
Okay. Okay. When we come back,
Yep.
are you going to nail me to the wall? Is that what you're going to do? This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. We are live from Contact in the Desert in Joshua Tree. Coming up next after the break, Don Schmitt is joining us. He's talking to Steve Murillo and Alex Mistretta right now. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us, everybody.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network. Hey, this is Alan Johannes from the Vultures and Queens of the Stone Age. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Rock it up.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. We are broadcasting live right now around the world from Contact in the Desert. Here we go. I'd like to welcome right now, and I'm honored, Donald Schmitt, Jesse Marcel, and it's kind of weird, and I'm just going to be straight. Let me bring up your mics. You guys are live. You guys are good. You guys are royalty, and you know what I'm talking about. You guys have been doing this from the very, 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 very beginning. And I will ask you both, Don, if you don't mind, you can go first. How have things changed since for you with the original days of breaking Roswell? How has it changed? Here we are. It's 2014. We're going into 2015. What's different for you?
Well, certainly the saddest aspect is we often remind our critics even that we're racing with the Undertaker, that the World War II generation, that the attrition rate is only intensifying, and we realize we're on the 5-yard line, and we don't have the ball. And as a result, we're all the more compelled to track down every last individual and give them one final opportunity to go on the record, to even provide us with potentially a deathbed statement, corroborating what over 600 other people have that we've interviewed to date in these past 25 years. As I always mention, there's nothing more frustrating than just the finality of death, the idea that whatever information, whatever acquired knowledge of an event such as Roswell is gone forever. That next to going into a court of law and actually being able to present the hardware, the physical nuts and bolts, that all we have left is the circumstantial eyewitness testimony. And for every new trip down to New Mexico, and it's a little more lonely each and every time, that we've lost another one and another one and another one. And it's like you're losing your uncles over and over again.
Sitting to your left is an example of that. And pull the microphone a little closer to you, Jess.
Okay.
Exactly. And you're of all, when you make a comment like that, here we have Jesse Marcel. And how do you feel about that? I mean,
it absolutely hits home. Of course, my father passed away this month last year, and he was obviously the last one to actually hold the debris that came with my grandfather. So that is gone. His last wishes were that this would actually become disclosed. But the government would admit, but it just didn't happen.
I have to ask you, I've never had you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you.
And it is an honor. So let's just get that out of the way.
Well, thank you.
Okay. But what were your conversations, with your father and your grandfather about, or did you get an opportunity to, was it discussed? Thanksgiving dinner? Are you guys talking about I-beams and folding foil? And I'm not being cavalier.
Oh, of course.
I'm being straight. Did you have those conversations?
I was lucky enough to spend a lot of my summers in my youth fishing with my grandfather. So I had a lot of opportunity to talk about not just the story that the public knows, but a lot of the inside, the feelings, the emotions that followed it. There's so much more to it than just what's on the surface. And then, honestly, as a child in Montana with my father, we spoke about it quite readily. At dinner time was composed of Star Trek at 5 o'clock and Roswell. We talked about it.
Wow.
We had a different perception because growing up in the family I did, of course, we had a complete belief in extraterrestrial life was out there. And, as we're sitting down eating dinner, my thoughts were of another little boy sitting at a dinner table in some other foreign world. And that was the atmosphere I grew up in.
Can you, because it's just you and I sitting in my living room right now, it's nice and private. Can you share something with us that you've never shared with Don? Right now, live on the air.
Right now, I think there's a piece floating around out there.
I know that.
Don, of course you'd say that.
No. In fact, it's not only the reason that we've now had 4 archaeological digs at the site, but it's one of the reasons that we've suspected, especially some of the primary families, for years, to still be in possession of what we often jokingly refer to as moon rocks. And as a result, we've had false alarms. We've gone down in the basements and in the crawl spaces and even dropped lights down into deep wells, and all under the promise that something might be there that finally proves it's beyond a shadow of a doubt. And as long as that also remains the case, even after the final witness does pass on, that then it does become all the more incumbent on us to seek out and provide the physical evidence.
What are you doing? What are you doing as a researcher in Roswell? Are you running around like a madman with a recorder? And again, not to be cavalier, but you must be cognizant of, and not to even be morose, but you're absolutely right. The day will come when we can't do this anymore. So what are you doing? Are you camped out, Motel 6, Roswell, and archiving?
Oh, I just think back to the earlier years of the investigation when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have the phone CD-ROMs that you just pop in a name and pull out an address and phone number, where we actually had to track people down. And whether we were going through air certification or motor vehicle department, we were doing credit searches as far as on people. Anything it took to actually locate these potential witnesses. And our phone bills, for example, between Kevin Randall and myself, used to average $500 a piece. And so, yeah, thank God.
Back then, $500 was real money.
A lot, and especially for a bill. And thank God those days are past. But unfortunately, when I think of all the times that we would finally locate someone and we discover that they just passed away a year before, or a month before. We actually spoke to one of the wives as she was returning from the funeral. And it just hits you between the eyes and realizing that, again, we struck out. And that's how we look at it. We failed. And yes, true, I mean, for all of the successes, the failures still stand out because of as I said, the finality. And realizing that there will come a point that it is all gone. And for the fact that the government is presently up to 4 official explanations. I often joke about any husband should try that some night coming home 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, can't do it.
But the government can do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And
well, let me ask you this. You've probably talked to Jesse's father as much or more than anybody, right?
I would like to think so.
I'd like to think that too.
Traveled with him as well, and yes.
When share with us the one thing, I'm sure you've written about it, but the one thing that you carry with you that he has said, where you just go, man, the one thing that you just think about all the time, and I know it's there. What is it?
After the Air Force came out with their third explanation being that Project Mogul, the same weather balloon device, but that it was part of a top secret project. So it's the project that confused the very 509th Atomic Bomb Group who were in charge of the atomic bomb. Yeah, they couldn't recognize rubber, wooden sticks, foil, and masking tape. Okay, tell me another one.
Yeah, there's a reason to fly that to Wright-Patterson.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And anyway, when Captain James McAndrew, who was the researcher who compiled that data that was released by the Pentagon, and it was a 700-page report, and when we discovered that McAndrew was calling up Jesse's dad over and over again trying to convince him that what he held in his hands, what he saw to be truly something extraordinary. And, then for all the years he served in the military and a full bird colonel as far as the Air National Guard and as a respected ear, nose, and throat surgeon. And you have some low-level captain calling you up, and you're a full bird colonel, and he's lecturing you, telling you what you saw. And every time Jess Marcel would say, no, I know exactly what I handled, what I saw, and especially what my dad recovered from that debris field site. And after the sixth time, McAndrew is screaming at him, according to your dad, Jess, what is it going to take for you to finally believe that what you handled was nothing more than masking tape that had shrank in the desert sun?
Right.
And Jess, again, Sonny, I outrank you. Don't you lecture me. But I know what I handled. And finally, McAndrew, he conceded and he said, well, Jess, I guess we'll never know what you actually did handle back then. So he conceded.
Hey, Jesse, let me ask you this.
Sure.
This is your family. You know your grandfather's face. You know your dad's face. Mm-hmm. When you look at those pictures of your grandfather, does he look like I'm being straight.
Sure.
Okay, you probably never had a question quite like this. But can you tell in those pictures, like I can tell, where he is just like, dude, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be in this picture. Is that what you get out of that?
Oh, that and more.
Not to be a leading question, but
no, it's a perfectly honest one. No, he walked in that room and he had an inkling something was going awry. I mean, no question about it.
A cover up,
exactly. Right. And I always tell people, look at the picture and look how he's not actually looking at the cameraman.
Right.
He's looking at the person above him, shouting at him to make nice, smile for the cameras, because he was still arguing at that point, and he was dismayed, to say the least.
What do you make of the documents? The way the Ramey memo that he's holding. Yes. What do you make of that? I've looked at your stuff and everybody else's interpretation of that over the years. Stunning is what I get out of it. Almost scary, almost offended in a weird way. They're busting themselves and they didn't even know it. Because,
just the irony that in
that's the word I was looking for.
Those weather balloon pictures, and then in two of the shots, General Ramey's chief of staff, Colonel Thomas DuBose, retired as a brigadier general, and that he would sign an affidavit not only stating that the balloon was a hoax, and secondly, that they were the ones who substituted the balloon wreckage for the real material. Here you have in 1990 a brigadier general stepping forward and saying, the balloon is a hoax. We were the ones who perpetrated this on the world at that time. And you didn't read about this in the newspaper, did you? They wouldn't touch it. Just like when General Exxon, in Wright-Patterson, that talked about receiving it on their end, and then after all the testing,
right,
that there was a unanimous consensus that the materials were not made on this planet. Things like that. So generals, for some reason, only, need apply if they're of the skeptical side. And yet here General Ramey is holding this piece of paper. And we noticed this back in 1990 already when we had enlargements from the original negatives. And we realized that, my God, if we could just enhance these and enlarge these to the point we're on the brink of reading them. And as Dr. David Rudiak and a number of others who work with us have established, that they feel that especially that very line that reads, now remind you, this is a telex. In 3 of the shots, the back of the paper is facing the camera. In just one shot, it's this one paragraph of type. And that very critical line which reads, the victims of the wreck you forwarded to blank blank at Fort Worth, Texas. The victim of a weather balloon.
Yes, of a weather balloon. Does it ever freak you out that we were possibly minutes away of not knowing about Roswell? What if they would have shut down the radio reports, stopped the reporters from getting there? What if a reporter didn't get to town? You know what I mean? If things were delayed by a couple of hours, we may not. The cover-up would have been very easy. Does it ever freak you out when you kind of look back and just think how close we were to not knowing anything about Roswell?
Well, when you consider that when the
Jesse,
what
you do is you hit him.
Just hit
give
him.
me a shove.
But I want to emphasize that for the fact that, as you talk, Jimmy, that if Brazel had gone to the military, we would never have heard another thing about Roswell. The fact that he went to the sheriff's office of Chavez County, and the fact that how opportune that a radio reporter from radio station KGFL by the name of Frank Joyce just happened to call in to get some late-breaking news for his next newscast, and the sheriff said, I think there's somebody here you should speak with. And he gets the story. And so the news, the press already has the story before the military. That's why the press release had to go out. That's why it set up this whole chain.
Yeah, like I said, we were just a couple of little things could have gone wrong
and changed
the
course of history.
Been over with. I got to thank the both of you. Listen, I've got this is from Lou Sheehan. Ask Don about an update regarding the Midland picture.
Well, as we had talked off mic, that my former partner Kevin Randall has written on his blog about that, correct?
No, is your co-host, Eric.
Oh, Tom Carey.
He said that someone had found, I'm using the word picture, I don't know if it's a slide or whatever. And
Okay.
they're trying to get it authenticated.
Yeah. No, we have not put out any information on that. And the story originated secondhand from a source in Midland, Texas, only because the original photographer lived in Midland, Texas at one time. And we presently are having the image authenticated. We're having anthropologists as far as examine what is depicted. And we're performing all due diligence because it is important enough that if it turns out to be genuine, we have to ensure that it is authentic. And no, not at all. Not even anything close to that. So.
I got to get you two on the show. We've talked about it. So let's do that. Let's move forward in the next couple of weeks. Let's actually spend some time. But enjoy the rest of your weekend.
And I'll let Jesse certainly talk more the next week. I promise.
That was kind of funny. Jesse's face was like, I got something to say. I got to. You're very polite. Thank you. And listen, I think your sister contacted me through Facebook, and so. Anyway, she wanted to reach out, and she offered to contact you and get you on the show. I didn't think she planned on synchronicity.
Oh,
you know,
great.
which is weird. Synchronicity is a bitch. It's awesome. So please tell her thank you and that you did hook up with us. And all the best, Donald Schmitt, Jesse, Marcel. In the house. I got to thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Absolutely.
All right, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your nights.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Don.
You bet.
We're going to take some pictures. Hold on. All right. I'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, hashtag DMRadioNet. Going to take a break. Go take some pictures with Don and Jesse. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
City, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Jimmy Church. My name is Alan, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network. Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio, The Revolution.
All right, we are back. Fade to Black, we are live right now from Contact in the Desert. How's everybody doing? Huh? This is the Woodstock of ET. Is it not? Isn't this cool? So anyway, welcome back, everybody listening around the world. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You want to hashtag DMRadioNet, go hang out in the sandbox. Shoot me an email to Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Would like to thank Donald Schmitt, Jesse, Marcel. Thank you, guys. That was absolutely amazing. All right. Okay, so Lou Sheehan, troublemaker. Oh, look who's calling. Dino's calling right now. Hey, Dino, we've got some audio issues returning back off of our phone lines. I'm so bummed. It's weird. I'm serious. A show is not complete without Dino. And there you go. Lou, you're a troublemaker. Why? What happened, man?
Well, first off, I want to say thanks to the men and women previously and currently in uniform. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. And Jimmy, I just want you to kick back and act like you're in my living room. and I'm curious to know what you had for breakfast this morning.
I had for breakfast. I had my Aunt Aza's baked cheese puffs. Insane Armenian breakfast. That's what I had this morning.
And I'm curious to know. Well, I do want an update on the underwater base, but before we get to that, could you give me a rough percentage of the amount of my emails and tweets that you failed to implement?
Oh man, the roasting of church. Here it goes. I'll answer. You want me to answer? Let me answer.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna do it in jest. Lou sends me. Well, on a good day, it's 5 emails. On a really good day, it's about 10 emails. But it's just not an email. Lou's email is a treasure hunt. It includes clues. Sometimes it doesn't even have any text. It is just what do you call it? The title of an email. What do you call that? A subject. Thank you. I don't know where my brain is at. And so I got to look at Lou's emails and think. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Lou sent me a program of the star system and gave me instructions on how to find out where he lives through a star map. Think about that for a second.
That was supposed to help you with your underwater base. I'm curious for an update on the flight.
Oh, that's what it was?
What did you find when you went on the air inspection?
A real question?
Yeah, it's a real
question. Because I a few things came. What Lou is talking about is the Malibu deep underwater base that we discovered back in May, and didn't discover. We announced, and I flew over it 2 weeks ago on Sunday, and this is what I came away with, Lou. We saw a dive boat right here at the edge in between the two pillars. Okay, that was our waypoint in the GPS on the plane.
And there's no way to identify the boat. There are no numbers.
No, well, we couldn't. FAA regulations are we have to stay 500 feet from the boat. Now, that's easy to do in a helicopter. But when you're circling in a plane at 120 miles an hour, you're in the tightest circle that you can get. You're not 500 feet away. You're much further than that. I zoomed up the best that I could. I'm not going to reveal everything on the air right now and speak about what we did.
And why not?
Because I want to publish the video.
Okay.
But and let people draw their own conclusions. But what I did see, what appeared to be, were two divers off of one side of the boat. The boat was about, I'm going to guess and say, between 60 and 100 feet, like a catamaran motorboat, not a sailboat. I mean, a huge diving ship, a flat platform, diving ship. And but this is the thing, and you're asking me what I came away with. When you're flying 6.5 miles out into the ocean over the Pacific, there's no ships, there's no nothing. You don't see anything for miles to the horizon. And then the one waypoint over the Malibu base that we're flying to, there's a dive boat in between the entrance pillars. What is a dive boat doing out in the middle of the ocean right there? That's all I'm saying. It made no sense.
Didn't you tell me that area was restricted for boating?
Over here. No. This is
Magoo
here. That's about 10 miles away. Okay, that's Magoo, that's Wainimi right there. We were over here. The dive boat is here. Okay, now here, this is restricted. All of this is restricted for surfing and swimming. And
I
everything.
thought you said I guess the Navy and Marines had a large area of restriction.
They shut it completely down when they're doing missile exercises.
That's it? Oh.
No. The restricted airspace is all around there. We were about a half mile outside of the restricted airspace.
Oh. And do they restrict the area under the ocean or underwater?
That is still unclear to us at the moment. With all of the naval charts that we used and also the aeronautical charts to fly out here and software, we knew that we were in clear airspace coming up to this point. What we did do is we entered their airspace flying back to Camarillo on the way back in, and we informed them that we were flying in the airspace, and they let us fly straight through. So, but were we interrupted here? No, we weren't in the airspace.
And is there anything planned to go out on the ocean itself?
Yes, we're working on that now. Yes, we are. We're working with a Hollywood production studio and director and putting the documentary together, and we're going to head out. It is not easy, and I will never disclose it until it's absolutely ready. Joe Buchman, check it out. Over there is Joe Buchman. Right now, he's getting a drink of water. Hey, Joe. Where are you going with that cup in your hand? But I'm pumped. I had to do it.
One thing I noticed in an earlier discussion, you were talking about civilization at Göbekli Tepe. And to me, it's a continuum. There may have been 99% of the people may have been in skins, and 1% may have been advancing towards civilization. But having said all that, cut to the heart, like 20 words or less. Why are you so interested in that particular spot?
Because we're lied to.
See, and that what if
we're lied to? Göbekli Tepe was not supposed to exist. Come here, shake my hand. How you doing, D? It's good to see you. Everything good? Hey, where's Steve and Alex? They're here somewhere. Okay. All right. Okay. We've been lied to. And just like I was speaking earlier, it's an obvious thing with Göbekli Tepe. It is real. It exists. It wasn't supposed to exist. Civilization wasn't supposed to. Smart people weren't supposed to exist. The ability to do 3D relief carving in 12,000 BC was not supposed to exist.
And that's more than 20 words.
Farming was not supposed to exist. It wasn't. Civilization wasn't supposed. Religion wasn't supposed to exist.
So the fundamental issue is the lying, and not the fact that there was civilization another 5,000 years earlier.
It's denial, and if guys like me and other researchers out there are not talking about it, then it gets ignored.
Okay.
And trust me, it has been very silent since 1995. If the fringe guys out there, us fringe guys, us crazy talk show guys and guys that write all that. If we weren't talking about Göbekli Tepe, nobody would know about Göbekli Tepe. Klaus Schmitt would be an archaeologist out there with a shovel digging by himself. And that's wrong. So no, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be on the front burner. We need to fund it. We need to find out more. And we've got, we're being lied to. Göbekli Tepe was not supposed to exist.
And is that with that kind
Am I right? Am I right? Okay. All right.
Would you say that?
Take your best shot, Lou. Let's go.
No. Why are you interested in the paranormal? I'll call it paranormal for the broad spectrum of topics you discuss. And again, short.
Because it's not supposed to exist, and it does. Right. It does. Have you ever seen a ghost, Lou?
I have not.
You have not seen a ghost?
No, I may have felt one spiritual. When my father passed away briefly.
You ever see a UFO?
No, I haven't.
You've never seen it? Why are you interested in it?
Fundamentally, I'm hoping that they are out there, and I'm hoping that they will bring us technology and so forth that we'll use intelligently and improve our lives. I'll put it that simply. It's a form of optimism, and I think a lot of people make fun of that particular point of view, but that's my point of view.
Lou, do you have another question?
You can bring some other guests on if that's okay.
Lou Sheehan, everybody. Lou Sheehan, it's kind of funny, but every night I go to bed, I realize I'm really losing control of this show, and it's slowly becoming Lou's world. And I would like to thank Lou for coming on with us. I'm going to take a quick break. This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We are broadcasting live right now from Contact in the Desert in Joshua Tree. Is everybody having a good time? Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? All right. Take a quick break. I will be back right after this. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, hashtag DMRadioNet. Shoot me an email, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. I will be back right after this. Stay with us.
This is William from La Crescenta, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Jimmy Church.
My name is Alan, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
He's always giving it to you straight.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network. Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio, the revolution.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio for the masses. We are live right now from Contact in the Desert, and you just don't know. Shoot me an email right now to Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com, and you can also do that over on the website, on the contact page where we use special. I don't know if you know this, Joe. We use special non-NSA encrypted servers over there. So if you need to contact me in confidence and you don't want to get, you don't want to get Snowdenized, you can do that. We do that. We look out for people.
The NSA encrypted servers actually work better. Supposed to be, I don't know who you're getting to encrypt them. But if you get the NSA to do it.
100,000 jaws just hit the floor. Who does Church have on the show?
Yes.
Okay, here, pull it towards
you. Yeah, there we are. Hello. There's the microphone.
So, here we are. One of the coolest events that can be possibly put together. Everybody walking around, and today you step up, you stare me down, and there's Joe. How you doing, man?
I'm having a great time. What an amazing venue for this kind of discussion, and what a crowd they attracted.
It's insane, isn't it? And check this out. Let's paint the picture for everybody. We're out here in Joshua Tree. The smells. The breeze is blowing through here. It's like the perfect temperature, and it's a perfect evening. This is why we live here, right here.
Oh, no.
Not for 6 hours ago, but like right now.
Right now, and we're looking at a nearly full moon. It's still waxing. I think 2 more days or so till it's full. But beautiful moonlight on the desert here at Joshua Tree. I'm not sure I would call it the coolest venue ever, though.
No, not the coolest. It's cool. It's not cool. The coolest. Cool. So, what have you done today?
Well, the first thing I did was see Van Daniken this morning. He was on a stage in an outdoor amphitheater. We were all frying. The sun was shining at us, and he had his back toward the sun and a little bit of shade there. But oh my God! And I mean that literally. He's telling the story of the first 10 patriarchs and how those were extraterrestrial encounters, and it just all seems so obvious.
Right.
And the guy's almost 80 years old.
Right.
I think he said in a couple of months. And, 1966 was when he wrote Chariots of the Gods.
It's insane.
It wasn't published here until 69. Came out in German first. I think English is his 4th or 5th language.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the amazing Richard Dolan. There was the Disclosure panel with Linda Moulton Howe and Nick Pope and Dolan and Bassett and Jim Mars and Bob Salas. I mean, come on.
Seriously.
All together. Oh, and Jesse Marcel III.
Yeah, exactly. I had Eric on the show a couple of weeks ago, and here he is live from Switzerland, 80 years old. I'm a child to him. Well, you'll always look at somebody like that. That means so much. I am a child, right? And I'm getting schooled. I don't know what time it is in the morning there. If it's 7 o'clock in Burbank, I don't know what time it is in Switzerland, but it's not 12 in the afternoon. And that guy talked for 2 hours, rapid fire, sharp as just like You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just so impressive, and his conviction, and he hasn't swayed, he hasn't bowed. All the critics. When I think about at some point in your life, you may just go, you know what? Okay, enough. I've fought the fight long enough, and he has stuck to it, man. And here he is, 80 years old, out here with us. And it was such a delight to have him on the air.
And he got here last night, and he said, usually I go into a venue and I have my PowerPoint slides. There's all sorts of visuals. And they told me last night I'd be in an open-air amphitheater with no possibility of any projection. And so he rewrote his presentation, and it was perfect. Sometimes I think the PowerPoint gets in the way.
Right.
And then, he promoted the upcoming 2 talks that he'll be doing over there. I mean, if you're not here in Joshua Tree, get on a plane, a train, an automobile. Get out here for the last 2 days.
Right.
I'm so glad that I did not miss this. And all the craziness in my life right now.
Right.
And yet I am here.
Right. We gave away. Who won tickets? Right here. Okay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a room full of winners.
Well, they're out goofing around right now too, as well. Drove in from Texas, Arizona. Right? Arizona, Sacramento, Vegas to get here.
Yeah.
A lady came up to me today, Jimmy, I'm such a fan of the show. I just want to let you know. Heard about it. Drove out from Florida, man. It's like, what? Right on, and wow. Yeah.
And,
if you can hear us right now, get out here tomorrow.
Get out here.
Yeah. There's no reason not to be here.
There's no reason not to be here. I got in a car on July 15th.
You drove from where? Park City?
Yeah. I left Park City on July 15th, headed over to Estes Park, then down to Boulder, where I had lunch with Palola Harris and Steve Bassett. Right?
Oh, that didn't suck.
With my 16-year-old daughter, we're on our way out to Indiana, threw my dad a 90th birthday party just north of Louisville.
Wait. This is the thing with you, Joe. I'm a little jealous, and I follow what you do, and we talk about it. But every time I see a picture of you, do you ever go home?
I haven't been home in a while.
Yeah, you've got a motorhome, you've got a great family, and all you do is just cruise this great country. And
I do, and part of it is this was a car trip, not the RV trip. I went up to Washika and met Don Schmitt for lunch. We talked for 3 hours with my daughter, who turned 17. She's like, Dad, it's my birthday. Can we do something other than talk to Don Schmitt? And I tried to get her here. I said, Anna, we're going to have more quality time together. Let's head off to Joshua Tree. You can hang out with Steve Bassett and Don Schmitt again. And she politely declined. But other than her, everybody ought to get her. So I was home literally for 22 hours, right? Saw my wife briefly. While I was gone, she put our house on the market. Today, here, while I was listening to Lynn Kitae talking about the Phoenix Lights. What a great presentation that was as well.
Yes.
Pull out my cell phone, got an offer on the house, so I'm over making a counter offer, from the RV.
I'm telling you, man, I'm jealous, man. Joe Buchman.
And my major concern is I got to get home to pack for Burning Man.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's just nuts.
That's exactly.
It's absolutely nuts. Meanwhile, I have a bride who I said to her, I was feeling guilty. For those of you who think I should be divorced, you're not alone. And I called home from Washington. And I said, I could come straight home, or I could take Anna to hit Yellowstone and Grand Teton and Devil's Tower and Crazy Horse and Mount Rushmore. And my wife says to me, I just got the house clean. Stay away as long as you can.
That's just it. See, you're a really nice guy. You're a really cool guy. But I'm sure your wife is just like, no, you know what? He can stay away. Yeah, he's not all that.
I got the bed made. We're taking pictures. Do not come home. Do not come home.
All right, a couple of things. Let's jump into some good subjects. One of the things with you, and we all associate with you, is disclosure, and I know that's something that is very close to you. Where are we today? And not only where are we today with disclosure, and I'm sure Bassett's going to walk by in a second. We'll talk to him too. Where are we today? And you know what? What's it going to take? What is it? What is it that we're not doing? Is there something, or is it going to be out of our hands, literally the saucer on the White House lawn, the oldest cliche in the book? But where are we, and what is it going to take?
I'm not a psychic. I don't know. A. B, There was a lot of discussion on the disclosure panel whether Steve Bassett and those of us who are aligned with his work and support it wholeheartedly, as I do, are barking up the wrong tree. And, Richard Dolan, Lynn Moulton Howe, Jim Mars are very much of the opinion, at least as I, listened to them today, that this has gone transnational and private and out of the control, whatever part of the former legitimate functions of government we had in our very much tattered, torn, and worn down compound constitutional republic. We don't have any of those anymore. We got a president who can kill people with, due process. And by that, I don't just mean Obama. I mean the last two presidents. We've got, we're headed to $20 or $30 trillion worth of federal debt before we turn that around. It looks pretty broken. But here's the thing. I mean, the argument I had thought about while that discussion was going on is whether the president or the Congress or part of our military are still in control of this issue of the reverse engineering of whatever recovered technology there may have been, or other evidence that we're not alone, that we've been being watched for millennia. Von Däniken seems to have the proof of that right there. He just, whether they're still in control of it or not, I am 100% sure that they're in a position to know whether that's true or not. And if you define disclosure as a head of state saying, we have credible evidence that we are not alone and we're being visited by advanced extraterrestrials with advanced technology. I mean, that's the disclosure moment.
Right.
And we're not going to see that coming. That's a tipping point moment. You won't know it till it happens. It's not like we can say we're, this far up the bell curve. You can't tell. Steve did a great analogy today. He said it's a lot like running a marathon. When you get to mile 12 in the marathon, you think this is never going to end.
That's right.
And
you
hate it. You want it to be over, and you go the next, whatever it is, 13 miles. And you just keep plugging away, and then there it is, the finish line. So we're somewhere in that point, I think Steve's correct, between mile 12 and mile 26. But we won't probably see the finish line till it's there. Till the announcement's made.
Did you hear Don and Jesse a few minutes ago? Were you here for that?
I wasn't here for that. I was making the counteroffer on the house.
Okay. All right. How'd it go?
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll tell
Did they
you
write you a letter? They're a loving family that with a couple of kids,
Actually
and they're going to
met
keep the
them.
house. Oh,
I
really?
actually met them. The time they wanted to see the house was my one conference call. I have a weekly conference call for the census team at Burning Man. I'm one of the 3,000 burning nerds, right? The PhDs who go to Burning Man. And I'm in the part of the burning nerds that do the census, and we've been meeting for a couple of months on designing the survey instrument and how we're going to train the random samplers and all that kind of stuff. So that was during that time, and I said, I got to be in my office. And they said, well, we'll just poke in. So I hit mute. I actually got to chatting with them, and it turns out they know the people who do the praying mantis at Burning Man, like one of the best art cars out there. It's on permanent display now up at that new park in Vegas that's made out of former storage containers, that park just off Fremont Street. But they've built a new praying mantis.
So they're going to lowball you. You're the nice guy. That's cool. You're going to take you over. All right.
My real estate agent actually said, they said you were very nice. I'm like, well, all right.
Exactly. They got you where you want
to.
We're
not going to counter down much at all because of that comment. So.
With Jesse and Don, one of the things, not only were we talking about, but it is just an obvious thing that is on the table, which is this. Something was flown to Wright-Patterson. We know this. This is fact.
And it wasn't no weather balloon.
Right.
We know that.
Right.
They've admitted it wasn't a weather
right.
balloon.
And the last time you were on the show with us a few months ago, we were talking about, we wanted to get to, and our show just, never does.
Lee Spiegel called in.
Right.
All
Lee
hell
Spiegel
broke
called
loose.
in, right.
Yeah.
So,
hello, Lee. Time to call in again.
Yeah, he's probably listening right now. And call in, Lee. Lines are open. Is your experience with Wright-Patterson.
Yeah.
And we stopped that night short of that Wright-Patterson discussion. So
Right.
is it okay? Can we pick up there and
Yeah.
what was your experience at Wright-Patterson?
Well, I don't remember. That's the main part of it. When I was home for my dad's 90th birthday, I did pull up one of the scrapbooks that my mother had saved with the ticket to the Indiana Aerospace Awards banquet up in Indianapolis. So I built a laser. I fooled around with holograms when I was 15 years old, and won a bunch of stuff at a science fair and then at the regional science fair in that same old field house that's in the movie Rocket Boys. It's pretty cool stuff up there at Butler. And one of the prizes was a free trip to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So I have a vivid memory of these two Air Force officers or grunts or whatever coming to pick me up and drive me up the relatively new or brand new interstate highway system from Louisville to Cincinnati and then on to Dayton. And a very, very vivid memory of that. I remember we were passing a military convoy full of deuce and a half trucks and green tarps and Jeeps and all that. And the one guy says, it's illegal for a civilian to get in the middle of a military convoy. And I said, well, where's that in the driver's ed handbook? I haven't seen that law.
Right.
I was already already a libertarian then. If it's a law you don't know about, how fair is that? And, our government masters the ability of writing laws that they don't tell us about, and we're all criminals, apparently. But anyhow, I have a vivid memory of that. I have no memory of being on the base, of meeting any other high school kids, of any displays. Surely we had lunch or something up there. I don't remember that. But then I have a very, very vivid memory of being close to being dropped off at my parents' house when the guy said, do I turn right or do I turn left to get to your house? And I said, yeah, that's right. And he said, don't say that. That's confusing. Say that's correct. Now, that's a quote. I remember that. I can see the inside of the car. I can almost remember the smells. Why do I have no memory of being on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? Well, the reason may have something to do with my friend Pete, who had said to me before that trip, oh, you're going up to Wright-Pat. Asked to see the UFO in Hangar 18. So I'm 14.
And what year was this?
1972 or 3. I could look at the ticket that was one of the things I wanted to find.
Right. Way before rumors.
Yeah, before Stan Friedman met Jesse Marcel.
Way.
Lynn Stringfield may have had that one mention of a rumor of a crash out west, but nothing related to Wright-Pat.
Sure.
And so Pete said, well, asked to see the UFO in Hangar 18. So I did, I have no memory after that. And so
who did you wait, stop. Who did you ask? What, the guard at the gate?
Well, the two Air Force guys as we were in the car on the way up. And, I don't remember parking. I don't remember getting out of the car. I don't remember walking into a building. Nothing, just nothing. And, so then we bought the RV in 1998, and one of the first trips was down to Roswell, where we toured the museum. I met Glenn Dennis and Walter Haut. They were still alive and well,
right,
and hosting people there. And I was reading the stuff, and I thought, well, wait a minute. Stan Friedman didn't interview Jesse Marcel Sr. until 1978. And what was I doing asking about a flying saucer at Hangar 18? So I called Pete, and I said, what were you trying to do, get me killed? What was this about? And, I told the story last time. So he had been interested in this. He had a buddy who was real interested in it. They had gone up there. They got followed around with the classic Men in Black for, he said, 6 months. He had these guys in sunglasses and suits and a big Buick or whatever following him around. And then his friend died a very mysterious death and all of that. Well, I told this story to a couple other people, one of whom was a friend in scouting who said, well, you were chemically debriefed. And this was a guy who'd worked in Army intelligence. He says a real common side effect of having some injection that you have a clear memory of just, before the drug took effect. And then when it wears off, you kind of get these memories burned in, but you have no memory of what happened when you were.
Did you have headaches when you woke up?
No.
Was there any evidence of drugs?
No. Well, and again, I don't remember. But of course, I don't remember most of 1972, and it's not because I was on drugs. I was just, I got.
Well, it was 1972.
Well, so I don't remember what any of my teachers had to say that year in high school either. I'm sure, but I remember the science fair. There's news coverage of it. I made the paper. It's in the high school thing. It's in the New Albany Tribune. It was the paper at the time. My mom saved all this stuff in a scrapbook. I still have the poster board that I put together for the hologram display and all that. I don't have the laser itself anymore. The tube broke and we wound up just throwing it away. I wish I hadn't. But here's the thing that I didn't tell you last time that I think happened. And I don't know for sure. I mean, I told the story to Linda Moulton at the Aztec conference more than 10 years ago. And she was like, you got to get hold of Leo Sprinkle and you've got to get regressed and we're going to recover these memories. And I don't know. I haven't done that. But what I did have in 1980, I graduated from Indiana University, and I had an overwhelming desire to apply for a job with Sandia Labs. Now, I'd never heard of Sandia Labs. My best friend in high school went to work for Bell Labs.
Right.
But I had an undergrad degree in marketing from the School of Business at IU. kind of mediocre grades. I wasn't that interested in actually studying, so I went on to get a PhD. But but I remember this bizarre feeling that I needed to find out about Sandia, and I didn't even know how it was pronounced, but I could spell it, Sandia Labs, or Sandia is probably what I thought at the time. I suspect that I did ask about Hangar 18. I suspect that something happened there, whether it was chemical debriefing or not, that's something, and that I may have very well received some sort of post-hypnotic suggestion to apply for a job with Sandia. So when I told Linda that at Aztec years ago, she said this was not an uncommon story. It was one she'd heard before, that at that time they were out looking at science fairs, looking for kids to recruit and groom to bring into the reverse engineering program. I later talked to David Adair.
You just read my mind. That's exactly what was coming off of my lips right there.
We were talking earlier about my friend Raleigh James, who used to fill in for Coast to Coast. And she had David on one night, and she called me and said, "Hey, David wants to talk to you," because I told him your story. And, of course, his is my story on steroids version.
Plus, he tells it really well. He's a good story. Hey, can I ask you a direct question? Can you get in contact? He has dropped off. Nobody can locate this guy. Do you have any way? I mention it all the time on the air. No emails. He hasn't reached out to us. There's no way to get a hold of David Adair. Nope. And this is the thing, aside from yourself, he is probably the most requested guest on this show.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of great, important people out there. And it's like a couple times a day. We get 100 emails a day requesting guests, right?
Yeah.
It's David Adair, David Adair. Hey, what's it? David Adair, David Adair. Go to YouTube. And go look at the comments on YouTube. There's 100,000. Go look at those and look at how many David Adair requests are there. It is insane, and I can't find him. I cannot chase this guy down.
I only had that one phone call. It lasted for probably more than an hour, and I've lost touch with Raleigh James now too. So I don't think she's doing a show. She was on Sirius XM for a while.
Yeah, she was.
Then she was podcasting. But you might, if people know how to get hold of Raleigh, she may still have a website up. Raleigh might have her. Have David's contact information.
So moving on. So David Adair, and for those of you that don't know, he did the alien rocket engine touching. One of the best stories. If you ever go and listen to old Art Bell, go listen to the David Adair, Art Bell, the first interview, where he talks about flying out to Area 51 and test flying his engine and going. He tells that story. Go turn that. Do it at about 12 midnight.
Yeah.
Curl up in bed and let that thing rip. Great dreams.
I just heard it replay a couple of months ago.
Amazing.
He takes the grease out of the big door, put it in the engine, blows the whole thing up. Curtis LeMay saves his life.
Curtis
it's a hell of a
LeMay.
story.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a believable.
It's great.
You know what I mean?
I don't care. It's good.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's good.
Somebody said, and I forget if it was Mark Twain or Ben Franklin or one of those guys, never let the facts get in the way of the truth of a really good story.
That's right.
And I don't think David's doing that. I think David's got the facts and the story. It's a hell of a story. Very believable the way he presents
look,
it.
He's got all the this is the thing. What's the evidence? You want to tell the story? Okay, let's go. You've had an experience. You've witnessed something. What is the evidence? Let's go. What do you have? You don't have anything? Okay, all right. You do have something. Okay. With David, he's got all of the science fair, the newspaper articles, him standing next to this. He's got all of that. And where it goes from, but the basis of it is just so incredible.
Yeah.
He was a really talented guy.
Far more than me, I actually, I think I told you on the last show too, one of the things I still feel guilty about, and I've led a pretty honest life. I really, struggle to think at times I've lied or been dishonest, but I did fake part of my hologram display for that science fair. It actually bought the holograms.
You didn't. Oh.
Didn't really take them. I had it all set up, the prism, the laser thing, and I presented it as if those were of my creation. They were some little chess pieces.
Have you ever told anybody this?
Yeah, I confessed on your show last time.
That's right.
I'm trying to confess it as often as possible. I'm sorry, but part of that is at the science fair. If I've ever met an alien, ever met a Men in Black, there was a moment where some thin, tall man, with dark eyes asked me about the hologram, and I lied, and it felt like he could see right through me. But most 14-year-olds feel like every adult can see right through them. But I do remember that from the fair itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have felt guilty. I shouldn't have done that. I probably could have done the exact same display, won all the same stuff, and been honest about, I bought these. I didn't actually do the process of developing the film.
Let me ask you this: after the original Citizens hearing, and you're very, very visible in Washington D.C. That week,
Yeah.
and so after that, did you feel uncomfortable? Did you Men in Black? Were you?
Oh no.
Were you ever were you ever approached?
No.
No government, anything?
Not as far as I know. I stayed in D.C. for a couple of weeks after the hearing. So, and there were 7 people who got to ask questions from the dais, and that was Mike Gravel, the 5 other members of Congress,
right,
and me. Because on the last day, for the last half of Friday, Darlene Howe left early, and Merrill Cook, who was chairing that day, asked for the consent of the committee to have Dr. Buchman fill in for Congresswoman Hooley. So I actually got to be her for half a day. So there were 7 of us who asked questions of the witnesses. I got to ask a couple of questions of Richard Dolan and Stephen Greer.
Right.
So, at the time of my life. Now, I thought I was going to do that for the whole week. Kind of worked myself out of a job because originally Steve said, you're going to be up there and asking questions like a expert that the committees use. And they tend not to do that so much anymore. They have the experts pass questions to the Congress people. And, we recruited Merrill Cook and Mike Gravel and then Darlene Hooley and Lynn Wilnsey, and then Roscoe Bartlett came on near the end. But Roscoe was such a fantastic find. He has his political action committee was the Every Truth Be Told PAC.
Right.
So we went from having only Carolyn Kilpatrick was the first one to agree to do it, but she wouldn't let that be announced until there were 2 other people. She wanted a committee, not to be the lone UFO congresswoman.
She didn't want to step up first.
Totally understandable.
Right.
She stepped up first, but she didn't want to be hung out to dry, I guess.
Right. Can't blame her.
But we were going to go with like 3 Congress people or 4 Congress people with Joe and Danny Sheehan at the other end as counsel, maybe asking questions as another expert. But I worked myself out of a job by recruiting Hooley, Woolsey, and Bartlett. So the night before the thing's to start, Steve says to me, the Congress people are uncomfortable having you up there with them ask questions, so I'm not going to have you ask questions. And I was disappointed, and had a kind of come to Jesus meeting with Steve and Ruben about what role I would play.
Mm-hmm.
And they created this position of moderator, timekeeper, announcer, filler-inner for breaks, a recruiter of the Congress people to show back up when we were due to start again, all that kind of stuff. And I wound up having the best week of my life. I'm really grateful to Steve for that. But Steve and I stayed a second week at the Washington Plaza doing media stuff. And then I went up and did genealogy research in Pennsylvania, came back to D.C. because I was on the audit committee for the Libertarian National Party. So I did the field work for the audit in D.C. and then went to a Libertarian Party of Virginia monthly meeting. So I was around D.C. for almost a full month. And the other thing I meant to mention, I went back to the ballroom of the National Press Club 10 or 11 days after the end of the citizens hearing to get Buzz Aldrin to sign his book for me. He was doing a book talk.
No way.
Right there. He was right where I'd been sitting. Buzz freaking Aldrin, one of the first 2 men to land on the moon simultaneously is how I describe him. He wasn't the second man to walk on the moon. He was one of the 2 guys to land in the same moment. True American hero, has this great book about we do these free return kind of figure 8 orbits out Mars and back to ship stuff up there for colonies. The guy is Dr. Rendezvous, right?
Right.
PhD from MIT and Space Rendezvous.
Right.
And still incredibly sharp and passionate. And there I was back in the ballroom, with the echo of the citizens hearing, and here's the first guys to walk on the moon in that same room less than 2 weeks later.
Let me ask you this. There's one thing that I find very interesting about Washington, D.C. And when you're the Holiday Inn that is right downtown in Washington, D.C., the nice one, the round one, You go down, it's nice. Brazil wood walls, really nice, really nice. And you go into the restaurant or the bar there, and you can just feel spooks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there, people are looking and talking quiet and looking at each other. There's people alone looking. You can just feel it. It's everywhere you go in Washington D.C. And now at the citizens' hearing, I know that's going on. Now, not only that, but you're taking your lunch breaks, or you're eating dinner, you're eating breakfast, you're going out. That stuff is going on all the time in the background. And what was that like, of all the things you guys are talking, disclosure and ET and UFOs, one of the most hush-hush things in D.C., and which is already a spooky town full of spooks anyway. What was that like that week? And it must have been palpable. It just must have been everywhere.
Well, they just had the Boston bombing, I think. Steve remembers it being a little closer to the hearing. I think it was a full 2 weeks before the first day of the hearings. So the question when that happened was, oh my gosh, do we need to now hire security? Should we have metal detectors? Is somebody going to come to the citizens hearing and shoot up the main ballroom? And we wound up having none of that. So anybody could have walked in off the street, carrying a bazooka or whatever. So there was a little tension around that. I remember in the year, and some discussion about what could we do to add security. And the bottom line answer is there's nothing you can do to add. I mean, the TSA is kabuki theater. This is not adding any real security to flying, in my opinion. If we carry the same logic that creates the TSA at our airports, we'd have metal detectors at every shopping mall or major sporting event or high school prom or whatever. And we're headed down that path. On that drive to Indiana and back, I passed a sign in Kansas that said, random cash and drug checkpoint ahead. And I thought, here's where I go to jail.
Right.
I ain't consenting to searches. I do not tolerate this violation of constitutional rights. I got there and the checkpoint, I guess, had just been shut down, and I kept driving. I didn't see anything other than a blinking blue light. But I'll tell you where I did feel a little out on a limb during the citizens' hearing. So I think it was the second day. And by the second day, we'd rocked the world. I mean, the 6 members of Congress had gone from somewhat critical evaluators to advocates. It happened pretty quickly. The evidence of a cover-up is so obvious in that kind of a setting, and they've seen it before. They could see it and smell it there. So near the end of the day, after the testimony had concluded, I think the chair had gavelled the hearing closed for the day. I said the cameras and on the webcast, hey, if there's people out there watching this, former military witnesses, black budget military contractors who have signed these secrecy oaths, just as we said when I started talking to you, get to Washington, D.C. You do not want to miss this. You've got 3 days to get here. And, Steve will vet you. And if you've got something to say before the committee, here's your opportunity to show up before Friday. And I wondered if anybody would take us up on that, whether there would, surely there were people watching the streaming video of that hearing who know more than I do about this subject.
I don't understand with the different approaches when it comes to disclosure. Bassett has his, Leslie Kane has hers. Other researchers have their theories about how to get this done, but they're all different, and they're all legit, and they're all I don't know which way to go. I really don't. And Richard Dolan also has one of the best views of this. It'll just be some uncontrollable mass event, and I think that is good. And I think that is strong. What's up?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay. Sorry about that. That is Spaceboy co-producing the show. But I really don't know. Leslie paints a really good case for this, where she says, what? Politicians don't care. It's the last thing on the agenda. You don't need to be approaching Washington, D.C. like that. You've got to base everything on facts, and I get that, and I understand that. And Stephen's approach is being a pit bull, and I certainly never want to be on Stephen's bad side. To be honest with you, And he's all Stephen. You are always welcome on the show, brother. Wherever you're at, you're always. But
I'm not sure Stephen has a bad side for anyone.
no,
other
but you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
He's the right guy to be dealing with it in this with this type of with this method.
The exception to that was Seth Shostak, and I surprised Steve. May have concerned him somewhat. I'm not sure, but I actually went to a SETI conference in Sunnyvale in March called Contact Cultures of the Imagination. They've been doing it for 30 years. They bring in a bunch of academics, and they role play first contact between an advanced Earth civilization and an imagined alien situation using kind of a gaming theory stuff. And they have extremophile biologists and cosmologists. The guy who created Kepler was there. I'm spacing his name right now. And they were presenting the latest of the Kepler data. And I said, look, I was just at the citizens hearing and I could do, an hour-long presentation. And they said, the schedule's full, but if we have a cancellation, we'll put you on. They wound up putting me on right before the keynote speaker on Saturday, right before dinner. I'm like, everybody's in the room. Showstock's there. The SETI guys are there. And I've got the pictures of the committee up there. And I pulled out some of the best of the testimony and presented it to the folks at SETI. And I called Steve about it. I said, hey, you may want to publicize this on your PRG emails or whatnot. And he said, well, what has Seth said about me? And I said, well, Seth told me that, of all the people who have been upset with him and think he's part of a cover-up, you're the only one to threaten him with actual physical violence. That's what Seth told me. And I said, well, I apologized for that. And I understand Steve's frustration. But he very much thinks that people like Seth are too bright to not know that the evidence for extraterrestrial visitation and watching us over millennia is credible. And yet I got very much the impression from my experience with these guys, and Seth's not the only one, there are a lot of techno geeks there, that they just simply discount all eyewitness testimony. There's no eyewitness testimony they find credible for anything, really. And without eyewitness testimony, there's not a lot to the field of ufology. There's some radar returns, there's some trace evidence. But if you're not going to give military pilots speaking about what they witnessed and how they were threatened after the fact about talking about it, if you're not going to have that in credibility, you don't have a lot to talk about with those guys. Personally, I felt respected and welcomed and appreciated, maybe just a slight smirk here and there over what I had done, what I was interested in, and maybe a little bit of a disappointment that a guy with a PhD could have gone this far down a nutty path.
Right.
But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Leslie's thing is you don't need to be degrading these people for being part of a cover-up. They really are so narrowly focused on their Kepler data or whatever. For example, I met one of the guys who's named 2 of the 5 moons around Pluto. I didn't know Pluto had 5 moons. There's Charon, however that's pronounced. Well, really, there's 4 more, and this guy named the last 2. But they're so narrowly focused on their field and getting peer-reviewed research out into journals that I don't think they really have looked at Dolan's books or the Roswell case.
You have to ask that, and this is the thing, and this is probably the most brutal point when it comes to Washington D.C. When you look at just the odds of a senator or a congressman seeing something in the sky or even caring about ET or UFOs at all. Okay, so maybe 25%. Okay, maybe. But what if it's less than that? Odds are playing out that it could even be higher as like 50%.
Yeah.
But what if it's the wrong pool? What if it's just the wrong guys and it's 1% where it's not on their plate, they don't care, they don't watch Independence Day, they don't know, you know what I mean? They don't read the books, they don't go to the websites, they're out of the play completely, and it's not with their constituents, it's not something that's brought up, it's not funded, there's nobody, you understand what I'm saying, where it's just not there at all. So why should they listen and why should they care?
And that's John Alexander's argument, is that this is
John's,
nothing the government has time for. There is no cover-up. There's no group, whatever, reviewing it. I doubt that that's the case. But you're right. I mean, these guys have $500 billion a year in extra debt they're creating. They've got the healthcare crisis, infrastructure falling apart. They've got constituents that are worried about a lot of the things. Now, if the UFO community were to rise up, if really there's 50% or more of Americans who believe that the government's hiding things, and there were to be votes had in that, then perhaps something would happen. So when I ran for Congress, I called for, first of all, we need less legislation to protect whistleblowers. We have persecuted whistleblowers in this country. We're persecuting them today. Even the whistleblowers from a few weeks ago about Veterans Administration abuses are being persecuted. They're being reassigned to menial jobs and offices in basements and other forms of harassment. So I think we need, first of all, legislation to protect whistleblowers, and then we need congressional hearings on waste, fraud, and criminal activity in our government. We need to clean that up, and I think we ought to extend that to any folks involved in the black world who've signed secrecy agreements around contact with extraterrestrials. Congress should have the power to revise those contracts with military contractors to say, look, if you swore a secrecy oath about something having to do with the extraterrestrial issue, we're voiding those contracts, and we're going to have hearings, and we want you to come testify. Now, who would show up out of the woodwork at that kind of a hearing? That could be, 100% of the TVs on the planet turned into that kind of testimony and gain some credibility for people in Congress. That's what Steve's working for. The United Nations can't do that. They can't have a hearing or a conference where they can void these secrecy agreements that have been signed by these people. We know they've been signed. I've had friends who've told me about it.
Sure.
One of my friends in scouting became chief medical officer for NASA. And when I asked him about this issue, he said, Joe, when you get the kind of job I have, you sign certain contracts that basically eliminate the Bill of Rights. And as much as I might like to talk about certain things that I think are important,
absolutely,
even with my own wife, if I were to do so, it would be discovered fairly quickly. I would lose the pension, the health care benefits. She would lose the retirement income, and I would go to a place worse than Leavenworth. So please don't ask me about this again. Well, I think that's very common, that those kind of agreements.
There's nothing wrong with it either.
Right.
As they say, family first. But let me ask you this. You were in politics for a while. With career politicians, truly re-elected officials, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is of that. You got two terms in office for the presidency, but I don't know, how many guys are lasting for whatever 20 years in politics or longer.
Something like 90% of incumbents get reelected.
90% once.
Something like that.
Once.
I think in any given election, so that probably Peter
right.
said over time 9.9 times 0.9.
But how many of them outlast a careerman in the military?
Yeah, nobody. Right.
So they're coming and going, but the agenda with science in the military and the NSA and the CIA, that continues and goes on. And what was started there, projects 40 years ago, are projects that are going to be moving on and continuing. And you've got 2 or 3 generations of politicians that have come and gone in that same period.
Right.
So it's only logical to think that they're never exposed. They don't need to know or get their brain clouded with any type of black projects or ET knowledge. Or
Richard Dolan said again today, which should be fairly obvious. If you're talking about something like the NRO or the NSA having control of this issue or being deeply involved in it, then you have organizations which have blackmail on every one of those elected officials. There are reports, at least credible reports of people having been threatened around disclosure of this kind of stuff or getting interest in this kind of stuff. If they don't want you to go there or into other areas that they don't want you to go into, it's probably relatively easy to convince you that it's not in your best interests.
I said this on the show last night. I'll say it again tonight. How much, I'm going to pose this question, then I'll give you my answer. How much of what comes out of Washington, D.C. about milk, telephones, cars, war, science, anything, what's the percentage of the truth that comes out of Washington, D.C., that goes to the media and comes to us? What's the percentage of truth?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah, is that
yes,
what you said?
That's what I said. Zero is the answer.
It's a good place to start.
That's a good place to start. Because they're sitting right. Everything is spun.
Yeah.
Everything is spun, spinning. They've got their tables, their data, their facts, and this and that. Okay, now what do we do with this? It's all run through a filter.
Yeah.
Every last bit of it. Some of it 180 degrees in the other direction, and out and out lies and denies. But zero is my guess.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything they would tell the truth about.
Somebody told me I had dinner with Don Schmitt tonight.
Do you guys agree with that? Do you agree? Anybody out there would look at me and say, Jimmy, no, you're wrong. They're telling us the truth. Anybody want to raise their hand? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that I'm cool. What's that? What are you pointing at? Rita's. See, it's really cool. Normally, Rita, I'm getting texts, I'm getting emails, I'm getting this at the studio back in Burbank, and we're cut off, and she can just go at it. But now she's got to just go. How you doing, honey? You good? You good? That's Rita, our executive producer, everybody. Right there, Rita Kamarian. Okay.
I had dinner with Don Schmitt tonight, and we were talking about this very issue.
If you name drop one more time on this show, pal.
Don. It was Don Schmitt. Don. Tom Carey wasn't here. Anyway, we were talking about this very issue, and what he said was that it's his impression, at least, or he'd heard from others, that every day the CIA basically writes what we see in the news. They probably do it the night before. And we know that we have paid federal employees who are sitting around posting stuff on Facebook. We have PR agencies for the CIA now, to manage this.
It's
crazy.
It's insane.
It's totally insane. I'm sure that there is some truth that comes out of D.C. So the more precise answer to your question is, what's our ability to discern what's true from what's made up? It's definitely zero. And one of the ways you cover up the truth on this issue of the engagement of an extraterrestrial presence with the people of humanity going back, 1947 or for thousands of years you choose, is to mix the truth with a whole bunch of disinformation. And so I'm sure there's some truth that has come out of DC on this issue, but there's so much other, craziness in the field that's been put there by our federal overlords that sifting truth from falsehood gives you a zero probability of being certain about any of it.
Well, and when you look at some of the obvious things, it may not be necessarily ET, but when you look at MH17 right now and 370, and the morning that MH17 went down, right, immediately it was amazing to me, that the prepared statements from every single mass media news outlet, they're all reading off the same page. It was it was a Russian rocket fired by separatists, brought it down. Now, I don't care. I don't care if that's the truth. I'm just saying there was no investigation or anything, and they knew those facts immediately out of the gate. And then you have to stop and just wonder what is going on here. There's no chance for a reporter or anybody else to do anything objective and to go over to the UK. There was no time, and immediately, I mean, I remember hearing one of the news channels. It had happened like 15 minutes prior, 20 minutes, just some crazy. I mean, how do you know? It's in the Ukraine. How do you get this kind of information, these kind of reports so quickly, unless it's being fed to you? Yeah. So the spin had started from the first minute with that.
There's evidence of that from 13 years and 3 days ago,
yes,
which is,
of course,
9/11.
Yeah.
And you had the Patriot Act passed. That clearly had been written months, years in advance. It could not have been done in such a short period of time.
That thick.
You had to pass it to see what's in it. The suppression of an investigation of an independent committee, such that the widows and widowers of the people who died in the towers practically marched on Washington with torches to get a hearing held to investigate how the towers fell or why they fell. And Building 7, which is, I think a smoking gun of something happened that wasn't part of the narrative that was spun that day. And every day since, apparently. So yeah, nothing new in the spin of whoever hated Malaysian Airlines.
I just don't get it. And the odds of Dino Our audio is down tonight, Dino. Sorry about that, brother. Steve Murillo saying he can't. Anyway.
Nobody's listening to me except for the folks here under the patio.
No, it's.
It'll be the rebroadcast.
You should
the NSA hates me that much? That was the answer to your question.
You should. I'm sitting here. It's so interesting where I'm watching Twitter blow by, and everybody just telling you to keep going, and you're absolutely right. And it's really true. I don't know what to believe anymore. And when it comes to the odds of there's Linda, hey, do you want to come on? You got a minute? And Jaws is in the house. Come on in, John. Hey, Keith, if you can hear me right now, Linda Moulton Howe and John Anthony West just stepped up. Can you give me an extra 5-10 minutes? Okay, Keith just said go long.
Sweet.
Hey. All right. Joe Buchman. Thank you, Joe.
Anytime, Jimmy. Ms. Howe.
All tangled up.
Have a sweaty chair.
Let's just go. We're going to go live. No music. Let's just keep going.
It was about Wright Patterson. That conversation we had at Aztec all those years ago.
We're going to keep going, Keith. Don't cue the music. Let's just go. It's that crazy of a place. You know, Linda just walking down the hallway. How you doing, Jimmy? What are you doing? Is that something? I got John Anthony West with me. What are you doing? You guys want to kick back and talk? How you doing, John?
Hello, Jimmy.
It's great to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Everything good? You got here okay, I see.
Obviously.
Yes. Linda. All right, everybody. Linda Moulton Howe, John Anthony West are both with. Hey, let's hear it for. This is just absolutely cool. Absolutely cool. So amazing, isn't it? Is this just like the craziest get together of just mind and thought and what do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. There you go, Linda.
One thing that we talked about in the panel that we just came from is if you go back 20, 25 years for some of us, and even being on coast with art and talking about, let's say, global warming.
Right.
I would end up being attacked at conferences in mail and all kinds of ways, and people would say, if you don't like the commercial industry in the United States, you're a communist, you can go to Russia. And those were the attacks that Art and I were getting when we were trying to talk about that subject, let alone non-humans and everything related to a history on this planet that's concocted and is not true, and that we've got to break through all of these cemented lies. You would get attacked, and I mean attacked viciously.
Yes.
In the last 2 to 3 years, I've noticed a change. Jim Mars has noticed a change. John can address from the Egypt point of view, but he hasn't been on the firing line like we have been to some extent in UFOs, ETs.
Well, but you know, John and Robert have been rolling that rock uphill too. I mean, they've been fighting the good fight as well. Again, not the same subject, but these for Robert and John to lay it out like they did back then, they know exactly what you're talking about, don't you, John?
Well, I was going to throw it to him just to finish off and say it's only been in the last 3 years that you are finding more and more professionals. I am people who are coming from working government agencies, and it might even be on honeybees. And they are they're frustrated by knowing that they're working in agencies that are lying and are corrupt.
Right.
And they are beginning to come forward for the first time. There's no sarcasm. There's no attack. I am feeling that people are depending upon some of us to actually reach out to and say, we can't trust anything that the government is doing anymore, and we want you to know. And then more is kind of a whistleblower inertia that is going forward.
After all of these years, and I'll throw this right over to John as well, because I know you're feeling the same thing. In that, is it a sigh of relief? Can you relax a little bit, take your foot off the gas, or do you got to keep pushing forward and rolling that rock uphill?
No, well, it's a bit different for me because they don't. We get attacked, but within the academic community, not by not by outside.
Say that a little louder. The what?
The quackademic community. They don't actually, government and people that are threatened by what Linda and some of the other people do, don't feel threatened by us. They don't realize it's dangerous.
Right.
So, yes, we have all of the usual sort of thing about promoting a new idea, no matter how good the evidence is. I mean, the better the evidence, the more you're attacked.
Well, one of the things, and I'm glad that both of you are here, because I just had Andrew Collins on, and we did a full 3 hours of Göbekli Tepe. As you guys know, both of you, my favorite subject, your favorite subject. Yeah. So I said it earlier tonight, and I really mean it. You've got a bullet in your gun now. Okay, you didn't have Göbekli Tepe 20 years ago when we were all theorizing and you talking about certain things. But now you've got that. And how are you taking advantage of it? You are able to thumb your nose like this at Orthodox archaeologists right now. You've got Göbekli Tepe in your back pocket.
The first thing you can say is that Klaus Schmitt was a very careful, meticulous, highly respected archaeologist from Germany. And he made sure that from the very first spade, as he started going down in that hill in 1994, and unfortunately he passed away in the last 2 weeks, ironically swimming in a swimming pool in Germany.
61.
61,
Wow.
I know. But he made sure that he was doing academically acceptable carbon dating as he could. 12,000 years is 2.5 times what Oxford University, Harvard, and the so-called quackademic world said that was the beginning of civilization 5,000 years ago. Automatically, Göbekli Tepe has more than doubled that, going back to 12,000.
Yes.
The work that John is doing, if that water weathering is 12,000 to 14,000, and when
probably more.
Yeah, when Robert Schock and I were standing in Göbekli Tepe 2 years ago, he was using the figure that the water weathering on the Sphinx was pushed it back 14,000 years. But you're about at that same time frame on the planet. What happened that caused the saber-toothed tigers on the North American side of the planet to be found with their spines literally twisted 180 degrees? The big mastodons were found and the buttercups were quick frozen in their mouth. 33 large mammal species went extinct in an event that
fresh
happened.
Seeds, fresh food, fresh everything, instantaneous. I don't have an explanation for that. Imagine, you have to flip it. What if it happened to you? What was it that happened that your pizza is fresh in your stomach?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if comets came in or asteroids, the time frame is now adding up. There's the Younger Dryas, that's this carbon mat all over North America.
Right.
It's all dated to approximately 11,000 to 12,000 years ago. And it is now beginning to be 2 + 2 = 4. Something came in from outer space, likely comets, maybe mixed with some kind of asteroids or meteor. Hits on the North American side, kills, devastates, causes fire. On the other side, which is the Mediterranean, which is southern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, the whole northern Africa area, Egypt.
Right.
There was, the question is, what did happen in that part of the world and what new in Turkey? My hypothesis is it was extraterrestrial intelligence that built Göbekli Tepe. But something knew that something was going to happen is the assumption, because it was built 12,000 years ago, and 1,000 years later, the entire hillside, 30 acres, these huge, many tons, 19-foot tall pillars were completely reburied. And it was not till 1994 that anybody started digging into them again. What would have been the warning, and what would have been the technology to bury it all?
Yeah, well, that raises two questions. There's two there. Number one, Göbekli Tepe just didn't appear. Somebody had to learn how to carve those stones, whether that took a few thousand years of intelligence before that to get to that point to construct Göbekli Tepe, or somebody taught them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what's the intention of bearing? Why do that? What is the reason for that? Were they preserving it? Were they hiding it from somebody?
I would think not. It's hard to. I mean, anything you say is going to be conjecture, but also, Schmitt was excavating from the bottom and gradually working his way up. My understanding is that lately they've been working on a new one, and for whatever reason, I don't know exactly, but he was pushing the date further back. So my surmise is that Göbekli Tepe is being built over a fairly considerable period of time. As they go up, the dating should get older, and even as it stands on the 4 or 5 circles that are partially excavated, the quality of the workmanship is very different, pillar by pillar. Some of it is absolutely exquisite. There's one where there's this, looks like a mountain lion or some sort of a big feline.
cheetah, yes.
But it juts out of
3D.
It's actually in 3D.
Right.
Now, nobody has found a tool there, and somehow or another they have to abrade away or chip away the surface in order to free the reliefs, as it were. It's relatively easy to carve into the stone.
What do you think the message is with that cat pointing to the ground below the waist of this T human-shaped pillar, pointing to the ground? What is because that is about as deliberate as anything can be.
Well,
what's the message? What did you think the first time?
Well, it's all deliberate. My guess is that, I mean, it's not decoration. They weren't decorating stuff.
No, it's deliberate.
It's some combination probably of astronomy, astrology, and cosmology. And Laird Scranton, my friend, I don't know if you've had him on, you should, who's getting very good at decoding the cosmologies of the ancients. And most of those figures in Göbekli Tepe, the scorpions and the feline even, the vultures for sure.
The foxes?
The foxes, yes. All of those have, it's not difficult to, let's say, to postulate that these have some sort of stellar astronomical or cosmological significance. So, these are stone circles. So what do the stone circles do? They're, for the most part, I mean, all the other stone circles in the world have a profound astronomical, astrological significance. They're deliberately put to focus upon particular stars or particular constellations at particular times for reasons that we can really only guess at. Other than that, there was importance.
What do you think, Lindy? Do you think it's that, or a calendar, or maybe nothing at all related to the stars?
I think that the stone circles around this planet over a long period of time are functioning as some sort of a machine. And I do think it's related to extraterrestrial terraforming. I truly do. And I think Göbekli Tepe was not built by humans. And there's a very important piece that is not discussed much, but we got to see it when we were on this trip with Robert Schoch 2 years ago. And we had been inside of Göbekli Tepe on these paths where you can get as close to the big pillars as you can go. And Schoch had walked down next to me, and he said, we were talking about how it's the strangest feeling. It is an alien place. There is nothing that the human gestalt feels about Göbekli Tepe. And Schoch said, you look at these T-tops and these big, long pillars, and he said, it reminds me of tuning forks. And he said, as I was standing looking down, I had the impression, what if this entire place was made to vibrate at a very specific frequency that would have been applied by something from above? And obviously he's thinking of some sort of a craft.
Sure.
Well, the part that is not talked about much is they found in 2009, did not take it out till 2010. This is very current. It is a 6'3" totem, and they found it down in an area that was hidden behind a wall. And when they took it out, they took it down to the Urfa Museum to protect it. And in my lecture tomorrow, I'm going to be showing my photos of it as we went into the museum. At the top, the Turkish archaeologists called the top of the podium a predator. And below the predator, there is another body. And below that body is another body. And below that is what looks like a human baby being born from a pubis.
No,
Yes.
really.
And so as I stood there looking at
I haven't
this-
seen that. Have you seen this, John?
Nope.
Okay, I haven't
Yes.
seen this either. This
Yes.
is astounding.
Yes, it is. And it is the kind of thing that when you walk into the museum and you come in sideways, you are looking at what you think are some sort of reptiles on the left side. And then you come around to the front of this big totem and you see that the knees, or that the head and the snake are knees of one of these totem bodies. And then you realize you're looking at what does look like a human baby being born. And what went through my head was being at Kirtland Air Force Base, April 9th, 1983, working on that HBO project, and being shown this alleged briefing paper for the President of the United States. And the paragraph is emblazoned in my brain. I have never, ever forgotten it. These extraterrestrial biological entities manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. And it was as if going to Göbekli Tepe in southern Turkey and standing, looking at something that they brought out of a 12,000-year-old site. And it is a metaphor of the briefing paper shown to me at Kirtland Air Force Base in 1983.
I got an email last week after Andrew Collins was on and said, maybe we've got it all wrong, Jimmy, about Göbekli Tepe. Maybe, and I mentioned this earlier on the show, and it stuck with me right here. Maybe it's a time capsule. Maybe it's a museum. Maybe it's just showing a long time.
We made all these.
Yes, what is actually going on? What were the animals? What were the stars? What were, a snapshot of life over a period of time and then buried so they could show it to us and we could find out about it later, pristine. And this is exactly what you're talking about with this totem pole.
Except that it is so clear that on the North American side of the planet, at exactly that period of time when it was covered over as if to protect it, something new, that a catastrophe was coming in on the other side of the world. I'm convinced of that.
Right.
Several scientists are really doing first-class work on this. And they have found nanodiamonds, huge layers of nanodiamonds between Canada and the United States. The only way you could make them at the level that they're made is high heat and pressure. You have to have a strong impact.
Right.
So that establishes that something happened that was so dramatic that 33 large mammals went out into extinction. So it makes some sense logically that on the other side of the planet, somebody knew that something was coming that was going
Absolutely,
to,
right.
and that's why they covered it. That's the reason, I think, for why it was covered. But who and how and why was it originally made? And that column that John and you were talking about, the column
There you go.
of the cat coming down out of the pillar,
Yes.
glued on.
Oh,
That
and
was
how did it stay
sculpted.
there after 12,000 years?
No, that's easy. I mean, it's carved. It's the surface of the pillar has been carved away to free the cat,
but
as
the
it were.
feet, the legs are...
Well, but it's been one of the reasons that's makes it so remarkable is that it was covered up so that they uncovered it's
Right.
pristine.
Right.
It's,
To me,
it's hardly have been out in the weather at all.
I know I've said this to the both of you. I'll say it to everybody here that's listening. To me, Göbekli Tepe, the game changer at Göbekli Tepe, I'm not making light of this. I'm being serious. That belt buckle. That belt buckle on the T-pillar, we were supposed to be wearing skins. I said it on the show earlier tonight. We were supposed to be designer clothes.
Well,
do you understand? We weren't supposed to be smart.
But Jimmy, that on that belt, those are symbols.
Yeah,
that they have
that's
been
what I'm trying to say. It said Louis Vuitton, if you look really close. But you know what I'm saying? Where's that intel? It's not supposed. We weren't supposed to be that smart. and here it is in front of all of us, and the denial, with Orthodox archaeologists, you've been fighting this for a long time, John. And here you've got this with Göbekli Tepe. You've got it, and it's just such an amazing thing. When are they going to just stop and give up? When do they tap out? Are they going to tap out?
There's other life in the universe. You want that 3-inch headline? I think it's going to happen.
It doesn't actually matter that much, but it's probably close to a tipping point. If we or somebody else can get a major, we're hoping to do a follow-up of the Mystery of the Sphinx, but more than a follow-up, really a kind of something that goes into the philosophy behind it and so on, which we didn't broach in the Mystery of the Sphinx, but something that gets a lot of media, and at a certain point they never will say that they were wrong, but they'll sort of, the old thing, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they say that everybody knew it all along.
Right.
But they are not fighting this one. In other words, they can't. This time they can't. They're minimizing it as best they can by saying, well, we have to rethink some things. No, they have to abandon everything that they thought before. But it will happen the way these things do happen. I mean, with the dinosaurs, 1838, people have been arguing about the dinosaurs for centuries because they kept finding bones. And all of a sudden along came Cuvier, who had pretty much invented geology, and took the position that these were extinct animals. And within 20 or 30 years, the museums of the world were filled with reconstructed dinosaurs because it became, you might say, unfashionable to take the old conservative point of view. Something like that will happen.
And then what do we find in the last 7 years? The dinosaurs had feathers. And
that's getting pretty rowdy. I'm kind of enjoying this.
And the Tyrannosaurus Rex, like this, had feathers.
Just
reality.
There's a word I want to use. You know what? I'm going to stay clean. But maybe it's the romantic side of me. But for me, Göbekli Tepe is so important. I can't believe that we don't have Anderson Cooper or Wolf, going, okay, breaking news. We found the lost civilization that's connecting the dots. And now we're going to Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, live, but no. And it's that important, but they would rather talk about the Kardashians,
on a school shooting or something.
In fact, it was so casual. They had no security. They had no fences.
It's mind-blowing.
Yes, and 1 week before we got there, we were at the top of the hill at sunrise, purposely. Shock, and those of us who were there 2 years ago on June 13th. And we learned that 1 week before we arrived, one of their valuable pieces that they had found had been stolen. And that then we learned that one of the reasons why the totem and all these valuable pieces that were going to the museum, they didn't have any money, no security to take this 12,000-year-old archaeological site that no one can explain, no tools, no signs of habitation. And I personally think it is extraterrestrial, but it is exactly what you're saying. It could have been the BBC.
Right.
Anybody could have gone there
right.
When he started working, and 94 to 2010. 2010 was the very first year that it became public, and you and I think Shock were over there that summer when I talked to you.
Well, it was already out there.
Sort of.
Not in the public.
2010.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's really only been like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I post about it and I talk about it all the time. And our friends here, we're the fringe.
Mm-hmm.
We're the outside, but it's the one time that we can actually stop to everybody and go, you know what, check this out, bro. We're right. And it feels really good. And again, I know it must feel great for the both of you. What have you got going on for the rest of the weekend? And it's late. John, thank you for staying up with us, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. I wanted to ask Linda. I've asked you this. Go with me on this, everybody. When you're at Göbekli Tepe, you ever put something in your pocket? You ever take
No.
something home?
Yeah, I took-
come on, Linda.
I took
No.
one of those pillars. I'm known to have deep pockets.
I've seen. Have you ever seen John's office? You ever Skype with John?
No.
You need to Skype with John. Okay, it is Indiana Jones, right? Harrison Ford, his big office at the university with everything. He's living the life.
Big office. The whole house is the size of this room.
Oh, it is unbelievable. And he's just watching you, just looking like, John, you got it going on, man.
I call it a book style.
It's amazing. So what have you guys got going on for the rest of the weekend?
Well, let's see. Tomorrow morning, I'm doing the lecture that sort of weaves Göbekli Tepe into the whole idea of self-activating software for self-activating extraterrestrial machines for real that have always been able to neutralize gravity, cause invisibility, and project three-dimensional holograms that the human retina, standing up primates, have never been able to tell
Oh, that's good.
extraterrestrial
That's interesting.
3D from what is around us on the planet. And what have they got? That means that any place, a cactus and anything, could be an upload, download station. The prime intelligence doesn't have to be on the Earth. What it needs is the work to be done. And I think that's why.
Can you get me in?
Well, I think that that extraterrestrials, just like that briefing paper, began manipulating DNA, and already evolving primates on this planet probably have done it on many others, in order to accomplish something that would be both workers, we're androids, and I think today this planet and humans provide a pharmacy. I think that we are actually a genetic harvest trying to keep, as in Bentwaters, the famous statement from Peniston under hypnosis, they are using us as Band-Aids because what they are facing is extinction.
From the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. What time tomorrow?
8 to 9 in the morning, or no, 9 to 10 in the morning in Noble Hall. And
Right
then,
here.
And then I do a workshop on the taxonomy of ETs, 7 to 9 in Noble Hall. And then on Monday is the 3-hour intensive in which I'm going into hybrids and where all of this heads.
John, what do you got going on?
Very opposite sort of thing, actually.
Oh, I heard
Although
your
there's
presentation today, by
Oh,
the
you
way.
did?
Yeah, very good. It was piping, man. It was pumped through the entire complex.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on the speaker system.
Anyway, so today was the science and the geology and so on, and the necessity of rewriting history. On when is it? Sunday, 4:00, I think. A workshop with plenty of time to actually get into esoteric Egypt, the symbolist interpretation developed by de Lubitsch, and the whole thing on the gods as cosmic principles. I actually, one of the points where I disagree radically is that the gods are sort of ancient alien figures as malevolent as ourselves, mistaken by the primitive beings of that time to be gods. When you compare, let's say, Egyptian mythology to that scenario, for example, one of the chief creation myths is that Atum, the god before there were any gods, the gods must be understood as cosmic principles, creates the universe, or the first polarity, through an act of masturbation. Now, what's that? An alien sort of wanking behind
Excuse me.
An alien is sort of having himself off behind a tree, and there are a whole bunch of ape-like creatures saying, "Ooh, what's he doing there?" Well, he must be creating the universe. So you can extend that to practically any of the Egyptian myths. So this I reject.
You can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, so this will be symbolist Egypt, and basically the Egyptian, how the Egyptians expressed the guiding principle that sustained them for 3,000 years, which was the development of the soul and the quest for its immortality. So
I have to thank the both of you for your contributions. You've been trailblazing, both of you, and Magical Egypt changed my life. That DVD set changed my life. Have you ever seen that? Whoa. You got the hat. you know.
It's
All
the
right.
next best thing to going to Egypt. But going to Egypt is
I've
better.
been to Egypt. It's
Yeah.
called Magical Egypt. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Linda Moulton Howe, John Anthony West. Close the show. Let's
Thank
thank
you.
the network and Keith Rowland for hanging out. Keith, you can go ahead and roll music. I'm going to go take some pictures with these two. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
let
John.
me do credits. Hang out, and we'll take some pictures real quick. All
Okay.
right. All right. Fade to Black is produced by Rita Kamaria, and we're rolling. We're rolling credits. Thank you to everybody that came on the show tonight. Don Schmitt, Lynn Kitae, Jesse Marcel, John Anthony West, Linda Moulton Howe, Joe Buchman stopped by today. Thank you, everybody. Live from Contact in the Desert, we're going to go party. Thank you, everybody. It was a great time.